What's going on, fellow A-plussers? It is I, your host, as always, Adam Perez, coming through once again with a brand new episode of A-Plus Hero Report, your weekly stop for your Marvel, DC, television, and movie news. Going live over on our YouTube page, also streaming live today over on Facebook, as well as Twitch for you gamers, guys. So thank you very much for certainly joining me here today for a brand new episode as we're set to go ahead and wrap up all this week's news to make sure that you guys are certainly caught up. I've got 6 topics for us today that we're going to go ahead and talk about. Some honorable mentions right off the bat, some things that didn't quite make the cut, but we certainly thought you certainly deserve to know about it. And then, of course, to go ahead and finish off this episode with your guys' live viewer questions as always. It's going to be a little bit of a different show. This week, as I actually am rolling solo here today. I was expecting both of the fellas to be here on today's episode, but unfortunately, things have come up for the both of them here today. So it will just be me. You just get the opportunity to hang out with my handsome face today. So hopefully, you guys are definitely okay with that. And of course, as we get some people in the live chat, certainly make yourself at home. Make everybody certainly feel welcome. Yeah, guys, should be hopefully a great show here for you guys today. If you do have any live viewer questions that you would like to go ahead and submit over, you can do so at any time to aplusopinions@gmail.com. Again, that's aplusopinions@gmail.com. If there's an article you read, theory, speculation, a television show you watch that you certainly want to go ahead and talk with us about, feel free to always submit your questions to us at aplusopinions@gmail.com anytime during the week, and we definitely will get to your questions at the end of the episode. So it's just me here today, guys. Unfortunately, I was kind of hoping we had some really big topics to really discuss today. I was kind of hoping that I could get their expertise on some things. Was kind of hoping that we'd have some really big discussions, but it's really going to be the Adam Perez opinion show today, I guess. So let's go ahead and get into some honorable mentions to go ahead and kick off this particular week's episode. And listen, guys, as we're going through these articles, if you guys have any thoughts, any things you want to express in regards to what you're reading here, feel free to let your opinions and thoughts be known in the live chat or the comment section box below after this particular video airs. Let's see what we got here for honorable mentions here today. I'm actually just going to scroll a little bit through our Facebook timeline and see what really pops up here that maybe didn't quite make the cut. Something that did get the opportunity to drop as of yesterday. Comicbook.com actually was reporting that, we talked about the idea of a Wonder Twins movie actually getting ready to happen, having to be in development over at HBO Max. I think when they announced the idea of Wonder Twins, I don't want to say I laughed it off, but I honestly didn't take it very seriously. I feel like a lot of production companies have a lot of things in development that sometimes just never see the light of day, if you will. But it seems as though they are definitely pushing forward when it comes to the Wonder Twins movie. It looks as though The Wrap officially has confirmed that they have casted their lead roles already for Zane and Jaina. It looks as though the Riverdale alum, KJ Appa, I believe he played Archie himself from Riverdale. KJ Appa has in fact been cast as Zane. And if you guys are watching the Paramount series 1883, one of the stars, Isabel May, has in fact been cast as Jaina. So Zane and Jaina officially cast. Wonder Twins movie much further along in development than I personally expected, as we're actually having casting announcements. I will be kind of curious to see exactly how quickly they get in front of the cameras. I still don't know how to feel about this. When it comes to Wonder Twins, I still can't really take it seriously. But if it's on HBO Max, I'll definitely give the first episode a shot to see how it is. It just feels so out of the box and so left field. But you know what? So did Peacemaker. And James Gunn turned out making Peacemaker, a huge star when it comes to the DCEU. So maybe we can get surprised when it comes to Wonder Twins. But yeah, I wanted to let you guys know that Wonder Twins has officially been cast. Another honorable mention in here for you guys. We've been talking a little bit about the Blue Beetles movie that was set to go ahead and drop on HBO Max, but is now getting a theatrical release maybe last week or so or the week before. we talked about the idea that Sharon Stone was actually cast to go ahead and play the villain in the Blue Beetle movie, Victoria Cord. It's actually an original character that they're creating for the movie. Well, Sharon Stone is officially out, ladies and gentlemen. She has, in fact, departed. Let me see if the rap explains why, but Sharon Stone is out, and they have, in fact, replaced her with an Academy Award winner in Susan Sarandon, which is like just as good if you ask me. I mean, swapping out Sharon Stone, Susan Sarandon, some may even say an upgrade. I think we would have been more than happy with any of these two females, as they're both stellar in what they certainly do. But Susan Sarandon is taking over for Sharon Stone as Victoria Cord as the villain for Blue Beetle. So we do have some changes in that regards. There might be like one or two other honorable mentions I'll probably go ahead and knock out here real quick. Let me see what we got. While I'm looking that up real quick, let me see who's in the live chat with us today. We got Sexy Beast in the house. What's up, AJ? Nicole here also. Happy Easter to you. Not sure how you guys are celebrating. Me and the girlfriend have some family members over. Her dad is here. I think her sister and her sister's boyfriend are coming over later. We're going to have a little bit of a seafood boil. It might rain today, I thought the forecast called for, but maybe I'm wrong. But should be a great Easter regardless. Hopefully you guys are enjoying it. Also, I don't know if you guys are going to church at all. Tell Jesus I said hello. Who else we got? Gabriel in the house. Michael Rhymes in here with us. Francois certainly joining us today. Good old Jackson in the house. Carlo in here with us today. We got Ibase here as well. Kurt Marino. We got Datilla, as always, good to see you. Marcelino Vasquez certainly coming through today as well. And good old Tony Robinson. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, guys. Yeah, and then if we have any stragglers that wind up coming in, definitely make them feel welcome. Another honorable mention, which I definitely have to go ahead and bring up for you Flash fans out there. The Hollywood Reporter this past week went ahead and dropped an article letting us know that Jesse L. Martin, it says Jesse L. Martin is plotting for a future without the Flash. According to this, it does say that where did it go? It says the role is in the first position for, I'm assuming, Jesse L. Martin in a new show that he's going to. It says sources say Martin will return. This is the guy that plays Joe West. So Jesse L. Martin, who plays Joe West. It says sources say Martin will return for the previously announced 9th season of The Flash, but will no longer be a series regular. So he's definitely not going to be on every single episode in this upcoming season, though he is expected to at least appear in multiple episodes. So they are at least downgrading Jesse L. Martin when it comes to season 9 of The Flash from season regular to more recurring guest star, if you will, as he has, in fact, attached himself to another show after his time is up. The fact that he's attaching himself to a brand new show, it does seem... It says the CW renewed The Flash in March. While no formal announcement has been made, sources say there has been a talk of the series coming to a conclusion with an abbreviated final season. So it's emphasizing the idea that season 9 of The Flash may not only be the final season, but even a shorter season in a sense of abbreviated. I would assume maybe 15 episodes. Maybe we go the Black Lightning route for that. So, you know, and this kind of also would maybe clarify some things in regards to Grant Gustin coming back and at least signing a deal for just that one particular year when it comes to season 9, knowing that some of the sources behind the scenes are saying it is a shorter season 2. Jesse L. Martin leaving the show, if you will, for another full-time position, him not being in the full-time role for season 9 and just sort of a recurring role. Definitely one of those things where it feels as though the signs are now on the wall when it comes to the conclusion for The Flash. So yeah, guys, definitely maybe we'll get ourselves a formal announcement here within the next couple of weeks. But yeah, definitely have that to look forward to or not. The conclusion, unfortunately, of The Flash. And last tidbit of information. Did I have anything else? Nah. Oh, yes. Definitely had one more thing. The Batman, ladies and gentlemen. If you had the opportunity to see The Batman in theaters, well, now you're going to get the opportunity to see it at home. That's right. April 18th. it will now be available to stream on HBO Max. So, literally, as of tomorrow, beginning Monday, April 18th, The Batman will be made available on HBO Max to stream whenever you'd like. And trust me when I say The Batman will probably be on in my household, just in the background, on repeat throughout most of the day. I already saw it twice in theaters. Absolutely love the experience. I had a feeling that maybe that movie may not necessarily be for everybody, but it's definitely impressing and certainly crushing, or at least making certainly its money at the box office. So I think we're used to longer periods of time for a movie to be out of a theater before it can be on a streaming service. You would think maybe it would have already gone through like video on demand sort of thing. It doesn't feel like that's certainly the case, as HBO Max is shortening, I believe, their theatrical time, their window. I believe it's like 45 days before moving to streaming. I could be wrong. But yeah, beginning tomorrow, The Batman will be made available for you guys for streaming. Oh, happy day, if you ask me. But yeah, that'll do it for our honorable mentions. Let me see what some of you guys are saying too. Well, shout out to Frankie for being in here also. We got Gabriel in here. He says, I don't know about the casting choice for the brother of one of the Wonder Twins for what to see online. He looks like he's just a model. I didn't like the pick I saw of him for his casting pick. Well, I will say this. I've had the opportunity to check him out in Riverdale season 1 and 2. I really enjoyed the kid. I really did. I thought he did a marvelous job as Archie. So I can kind of see him filling in this role as Zane. If you haven't really seen his work before, definitely judge him after checking out his work. I mean, he is a handsome man for sure. I'm pretty sure he's got some modeling experience under his belt. But from what I have seen of him of Riverdale, I actually really do like him and think it's actually a pretty good pretty good casting. Pretty good casting. Datilla says, No Way Home DVD arrived in the mail. Has anyone else got theirs? That's right. No Way Home is now available. It was available on digital for quite some time, but you can definitely go ahead and get yourself a hard copy, Blu-ray, Steelbook, DVD, whatever the case may be. It is now officially available. All right, guys. I think with that out of the way, we should probably dive into our main topics for the day. It's going to be weird me having to control everything here for myself. So if the navigation seems a little bit off today, I apologize, guys. Bear with me here as I go ahead and handle all of this today. But let's go ahead and dive into the first topic if you guys are certainly ready, man. When it comes to DC entertainment, whether that be the extended universe, their cinematic universe, their TV side of things, a big shakeup is certainly coming. We've been warning you guys over the past several months and weeks with Warner Brothers and Discovery in their merger. The merger is, in fact, successful. It is officially ready to go. I think the $43 billion deal has been concluded. And with mergers usually come significant changes, whether that be to management or at least even the focus of a company. And different goals are now certainly made. And so this past week, it probably, I don't want to say it came as a surprise, but I think we were all waiting for this announcement. But Variety is in fact reporting that Warner Brothers Discovery new management is in fact considering the idea of overhauling their DC entertainment. Will this be a good thing? Will this be a bad thing? Is this what the fans have been waiting for quite some time, especially considering where DC is certainly at in the current ranks of things when it comes to entertainment side? So I thought it would be interesting. This is really where I wish I had everybody else here to go ahead and bounce their thoughts off of. But I thought this was pretty important considering the landscape of movies, especially when it comes to Marvel and DC. This could significantly change the outcome and the course of where Warner Brothers certainly goes and how they handle their company. So let's go ahead and dive into this, man, because some changes are definitely coming, and let's see exactly what this means overall for DC in general. So let me go ahead and bring this up. This is in fact from variety.com. Yes, it says DC Entertainment overhaul, or yeah, Warner Brothers Discovery exploring an overhaul of DC Entertainment. Over the past couple of weeks, they've had some new management changes. Some people from Warner Brothers have exited, and those from Discovery have put in their own people, if you will, as times are definitely changing around there. I don't even know how many different like management or owners Warner Brothers has had over the past several years, but it's definitely been a very big revolving door of talent, if you will, over the past several years. Everybody really not being able to sort of solidify a place for themselves in regards to really a tentpole moment for DC Entertainment to really push them forward, if you will. So hopefully, maybe new management now will certainly attempt to do that. So it says the new owners of all things Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman are exploring an overhaul of DC Entertainment. Multiple sources close to the situation have told Variety. It's been less than a week since Discovery closed its $43 billion deal for Warner Media, joining one of the largest producers of reality programming with one of the most venerable entertainment brands under the new moniker of Warner Brothers Discovery. David Zaslav, get familiar with that name, guys. David Zaslav, the CEO of the combined companies, and top leadership have been toying with the idea of turning DC into its own solidified content vertical, the sources said. I'm kind of reading solidified content vertical in the sense of maybe branching off DC into its very own studio, if you will. Very similar to how Marvel has their own studio connected now to Disney, but it's very much sort of its own creative wing, if you will. It seems as though they are maybe toying around with the idea of taking DC and letting DC literally be maybe its own studio production company. But we'll see. But I believe that's what they refer to when they say solidified content vertical. The move would potentially affect DC feature film development in Warner Brothers Pictures Group, streaming series at Warner Brothers Television, and the creative arm within DC proper, all in an effort to have the disparate elements more closely aligned in order to maximize the value of the superhero stable, one often seen as punching up against Marvel, which has definitely been the case, where we've definitely have seen DC trying to catch up with Marvel, sometimes forcing things, sometimes now at this point just trying to do their own thing, but certainly playing catch up. The idea, though, of maybe creating an own studio here really would be in an effort to have all the elements that certainly might have been separate, maybe all under one rooftop, maybe all under one setting, and maybe have somebody above all that to really keep it in a line with one another, which would certainly, you got to assume, like the article says, maximize the value of their superhero stable. It says before, though, the merger closed, the new CEO, Zaslav, vetted candidates with experience in creating and nurturing blockbuster intellectual properties with a goal of potentially finding someone to serve as a creative and strategic czar, similar to what Marvel has in Kevin Feige. Don't we all wish we had that? Don't we all wish that we had just a Kevin Feige that we could just pluck off the street and be our creative guru, if you will? A lot harder than it certainly looks. He does say that one of these candidates included Emma Watts, the former top film executive at 20th Century and Paramount, but it does appear that Emma Watts will not take the job. One insider also suggested that Zaslav was less interested in finding a creative guru and more eager to hire someone who had the type of business background needed to keep all the different factions at DC working harmoniously, or harmoniously, however you want to pronounce it. It's a great idea. It's a great idea. You definitely do need somebody. While it may not necessarily be the creative guru, I definitely hope that they certainly would have a creative guru side to them, but you also need somebody that can really keep everybody certainly in line, working alongside one another, making sure they're all going down the correct path together and working more aligned together. Kevin Feige certainly does do that, but there certainly is an element of creativity that certainly comes with Kevin. I think trying to find somebody like a Kevin Feige is very difficult to certainly do. One of the YouTube channels that I watched this week, really pointed out the idea that when it comes to Kevin Feige, one, he is certainly a nerd at heart, but two, Kevin Feige didn't get his start just when it came to the MCU. He's been attached to comic book movies for years, whether that be like X-Men, Daredevil, like Ghost Rider, like all those old school Marvel films before they became popular. Kevin Feige, in some way or another, was a producer or at least worked alongside the making of those movies. So not only is he a nerd, not only does he know the source material and love these characters, but he also knows how to make films and how to put movies and projects and things like that together. I feel like maybe trying to find somebody like that might be pretty difficult. But I'm sure there probably are some people out there. Zack Snyder certainly had his shot very early on with the DCEU. It would be trippy if Zaslav was like, come back, Snyder. I like your vision. I think we're way past that, though. I really do. But it will be interesting to see who he winds up getting to then maybe be the head honcho of everything that is DC Entertainment, if they in fact do what they're saying in regards to maybe making DC it's sort of its own entity with with all those branches working together as one. It does say that insiders say that Zaslav believes that the success of the merger, one that has left the company highly leveraged, will rest no small part in unlocking the full potential of the DC Comics universe of characters. So Zaslav immediately, just in this one sentence alone, showcases that he understands the importance alone of the DCEU and just those characters. The time period that we're in right now, where superheroes and sci-fi fantasy elements reign supreme, as Warner Brothers Discovery, seeing the plethora of characters that you certainly have, that's your moneymaker. And Zaslav definitely believes that, especially when you look at the box office and the type of money that these movies are certainly making compared to maybe the smaller budget films these days, right? So the attention certainly needs to be paid on that. And Zaslav understands that the success of what he's trying to accomplish will be if they can unlock these characters properly. Discovery insiders believe that although DC has achieved cinematic success with recent films such as Aquaman and the Batman, it lacks a coherent creative and brand strategy. I guess it feels like, says Zaslav, the idea that they're throwing things to the wall at this point, hoping it sticks and successful without maybe a more of a direct path or plan. It does say that Discovery believes that several top shelf characters, such as Superman, have been left to language. Thanks a lot, DC, and need to be revitalized. I do find that interesting. It has been left to languish way longer than it certainly needs to. This animosity towards Zack Snyder and what he's kind of created, I feel like, has really pushed back the idea of bringing back Henry Cavill as Superman. I am wondering if there's always been a struggle of trying to find a good script that fits where it's separate from Snyder Universe, but feels very much like its own new Superman movie. So again, they are showcasing the idea that they understand that they've got top shelf characters that really have not been used to their fullest potential and are just sitting around not being utilized correctly. So the idea that they say that they need to be revitalized, I mean, I could be honest with you. Like, for me, as a big Henry Cavill fan, that does kind of worry me a little bit. When I look at revitalized, granted, you could take it another way in the sense of, hey, we've got a great Superman here. If we need to revitalize this Superman, we need to inject it with, something to wake it up a little bit more. Or that could also mean the idea of revitalizing it by, we just need a fresh face in the costume. Which would be really disappointing. I think like it would be one of those casting situations where it was like an actor who didn't quite fulfill the ultimate potential of a character that he was so incredibly casted for. You know what I mean? I think it would just be a really big injustice to Henry Cavill to give us a Man of Steel, BVS, and a Justice League, and that's it. I really would like to have seen him grow even further as a character and truly develop. But again, that's just me reading between the lines from this one sentence. Revitalize could certainly mean a plethora of things. And when you've got new management in charge, the idea of bringing in fresh faces, whether that be management or even actors to portray these roles and starting over, doesn't necessarily feel very far-fetched. They also say they also believe that projects like Todd Phillips' Joker are shining examples of how second builded characters from the DC library can and should be exploited, a la Harley Quinn's Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn is another example that they certainly have. And they're absolutely right in regards to that. Being able to take these characters, making a much more non-traditional sort of comic book movie, if you will. You've got some really fascinating characters. Can you bring them to life in a way that's super successful and very cinematic? I think that's definitely a great example for Warner Brothers to certainly go to go that direction. I think there's a lot of directions that they can certainly go. It will just be very much dependent on who they put in charge, and really the idea of, are they going to allow DC to truly be sort of its own studio and really sort of work in-house and keep everything in-house, so everything's a lot more aligned creatively, everybody's on the same page, and you don't have just this chaoticness that has been the history of DC these days. Whether or not that means rebooting it as it is, sticking with what we've got so far, and then changing that course as we go ahead, we'll see how that changes. It says DC has started to figure out ways for its big screen films to inspire more streaming content. Recent examples include HBO Max show Peacemaker, which was a spinoff of the Suicide Squad. They also mentioned an upcoming Penguin movie and Gotham City Police Force, which is being turned into Arkham Asylum from the Batman movie. But the company believes that DC must do more to grow its approach to comic book fare, including bolstering gaming. For you gamers out there, under Walter Hamada, he took over DC Film in 2018. The unit has achieved more consistency in terms of both critical and commercial reception to the comic book company. He is under contract until the end of next year, 2023, and could play an important role in whatever Zaslav has planned. So it does seem as though Walter Hamada will at least be still on board until the end of next year. Maybe him and Zaslav, the new CEO, can certainly go ahead and work something together there. But yeah, if you're big gamers, that's got to be refreshing to see that they also feel that a part of that tapping into the truest potential is the gaming aspect of things. So there's plenty of stuff that we can definitely be seeing here. Mining DC's library of characters could help control spending, as Warner Brothers owns the underlying intellectual properties as well. So yeah, they do own all these characters. So they definitely have a big advantage here. And times are definitely changing, man. This is hard to believe, and I said this before. I said this at least in our Facebook messaging group to the rest of the group of APlus opinions when this news came. You know, if you've, I feel like if you are already in production, say of television and of movies, like if you're already filming, if you already have a movie that's in the can, that's maybe in post-production, right? Those movies, I think, will get its release, right? Like that, those movies have already spent that money. You want to be able to at least try and get back that money. So what's already been created, I don't think that those will certainly be canceled. Now, the projects that are not in front of the camera as of right now, heck, I don't know. Maybe if they're even in pre-production, I maybe I don't know about the pre-production part, but things that are far along or still have a far way to go in development, I really do think are probably on the hot seat as of right now. I am going to be really interested to see what happens with the Flash, not only in regards to the Ezra Miller situation, but it could also turn into a situation where I wonder if Warner Brothers Discovery maybe looks at the Flash movie as sort of that last tentpole movie of theirs, where they really have that opportunity to change things after that. You know, I think the idea of them moving the Flash movie back, DCEU films 2023. I want to see if there's any other DCEU films that we have scheduled. Um, so Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom is March 17th of 2023. The Flash is June 23rd. I was just trying to see what the upcoming movies were. Here we go. Films upcoming. I want to see like what is after the Flash. So right now, the only thing that's official after the Flash is Blue Beetle. And that is currently in front of cameras, or at least it's about to be. So as of right now, we've got Batgirl, which is supposed to drop this December, along with Shazam: Fury of the Gods. Aquaman is March of next year. June is of next year is the Flash, and Blue Beetle is August 18th. After that, everything else is TBA. The Wonder Twins movie is TBA, to be determined or to be announced. There's a Wonder Woman 3 on the docket, a Zatanna, the Amazon's film, Black Canary. All those are in fact TBA with no release dates as of yet. So like all those movies, I even wonder if maybe even the Wonder Twins, I don't know, maybe the Wonder Twins will get a chance. But all those other things that we announced, I feel like those are very much in jeopardy of maybe new management coming in and having a different game plan. I do wonder if after, say, The Flash and even after like Blue Beetle, if they will in fact sort of course correct or change. But who knows? I mean, I think the idea of completely starting over, who knows, maybe it's a good opportunity for them to do so if they certainly want to. I think we've mentioned this before, the idea of using a Flash movie as sort of a flashpoint, a way to maybe correct anything from the past. If you really want a fresh start, that would probably be the smartest way for them to certainly go. Just work off of what's already kind of been created before. I think just DC and just how their multiverse works, it could be a really easy fix for them. Whether or not that's the route that they want to go, we'll see what Zaslav certainly has in mind. I will say I don't think it's too far out of the realm of possibility of them saying, you know what, after Blue Beetle, we're just going to start all over again. But I don't know. I have no idea. I would be kind of curious to know what direction you certainly think they will go. This does make me worry. This is just another transition period. I mean, we saw how things worked out when it came to Fox, along with Disney, right? All the X-Men stuff, all the Fantastic Four stuff went by the wayside. We're still waiting for that stuff to return. Clearly, all part of Kevin Feige's plan, but we're still sitting around and waiting for it, right? So when it comes to mergers, it definitely is very much a shakeup. So I'm hoping that since we do have these movies, we definitely will have a couple of movies to certainly hold this over for the remainder of this year, as well as into at least the middle of next year for 2023. But after that, it's really kind of a big question mark, if you ask me, and whether or not David Zaslav, the new CEO over at Warner Brothers Discovery, if his plan will come to fruition and exactly how they plan on executing that. So let me ask you guys, do you think Warner Brothers Discovery should just continue from where maybe The Flash and Blue Beetle leave off at, and then create brand new content, certainly going from there for however they certainly want to shape their universe? Or do you just think, no, we're good, we're just going to stop this and just start completely over? Do you want to reboot, or would you like to see them branch off and create something new over what's already been established for us? Certainly go ahead and let me know your guys' thoughts in the live chat or the comment section box below. I will say this does, I, there's a part of me that wants to say this does give me hope that we're currently in the right direction. I do enjoy my Discovery Plus subscription. They've got a ton of shows on there, some shows that I feel maybe even rot my brain with as much reality television is certainly on there from time to time. But I'm a big Ghost Hunters guy, so I love checking that out. What is it like? Storm Chasers. I love seeing some of the content that Discovery has. But when it comes to Zaslav as the new CEO, I've heard nothing but really great things about this guy in regards to how he runs his companies. So the idea of him coming on board for Warner Brothers, I do think that we're getting ourselves a CEO that truly does care, that maybe understands the people and certainly what they want, and maybe be a little bit more open-minded to make the changes that are certainly needed to finally see it be successful. I don't know if it's always been an ego trip or what it is over at Warner Brothers that has always made it so difficult for them to pull the trigger on some content, to make certain things happen. it almost felt like there's like this built-in animosity of wanting to work with some people and wanting not to, sort of thing. And I just don't know if it was the arrogance, the hubris of them, to really kind of get in their way. But when it comes to somebody like a Zaslav, I don't. That's not stuff that I'm hearing or really seeing. So we'll see. We'll see if he's really what Warner Brothers has always needed to be, or what they need for it to eventually become. Um, but I'm keeping my fingers crossed because listen, at the end of the day, I just want successful movies and I just want enjoyable movies, and if Zaslav can really put his best forward to have somebody that can creatively shape this universe of theirs and have this interconnective woven, or at least working really well together, maybe there's a chance that Warner Brothers is able to finally rebound and get its feet under it. And again, I didn't necessarily even have that much of an issue with how Walter Hamada was uh, course correcting as it was as of right now, because listen, when we had DC fandom, was it last year, they had a huge panel of him explaining the layer of groundwork in regards to how they were really going to tap into the multiverse of DC based off of all the characters that they have. And I really enjoyed that trajectory. I mean, I think even the announcement of some of the movies that they have prepped and ready to come out is a shining example of the idea of them really course correcting and them really trying to give us something significantly different, diving a little bit more into their characters and trying to pull out BC level characters to make them popular. I think is a really, really great idea. So I do hope that that is something that continues forward. But I do appreciate Zaslav understanding not only the importance of DC, because it feels like somebody has needed to say that for a really long time. The fact that he's outright coming saying this is the key. Like, if we want this to be successful, we have to unlock its potential and use it correctly. So that does give me hope for characters like Batman, like Superman. Although I feel like it's super confusing right now with what they have. We got a Robert Pattinson Batman that literally just dropped its first movie. I think that would be a really big disservice to just stop that Batman and then maybe think to themselves, well, let's just create another Batman and revitalize it. You know what I mean? Like, I think the Robert Pattinson is a form of revitalization. And I just hope that they very much pick and choose what stays and what goes, and really what changes certainly need to be made. So the shakeup's going to be interesting, man. I really have no idea the direction or the course that it's going to be in. But I love Robert Pattinson where he's at. I would love to see Henry Cavill certainly come back. There's a lot of things I certainly would like to see. I'm just not sure whether or not if that's the direction that they certainly want to go. But what sort of changes would you like to see Zaslav make when it comes to the DC entertainment? Does the words and some of the stuff from the article give you hope that they certainly might be going in the right direction? Certainly go ahead and let me know your guys' thoughts in the live chat or the comment section box below. And let me see what you guys are saying in regards to that. Um, Andrew says, I'm so excited for Batgirl. Me too. We'll definitely dive into some Batgirl talk as well. Gabriel says, I'm still a bit confused. Was Jeffrey Wright Commissioner Gordon? Like when Gary Coleman played him in the old films, I get Commissioner and Alfred mixed up. Yeah, Jeffrey Wright played Commissioner Gordon, yes, in the new Batman movie. Marcelino says, I don't want Warner Brothers to reboot DC again. I want Flash to be the only reboot. Ironically enough, DC constantly rebooting every 5 years is technically accurate to the comics. I mean, you're absolutely right there, Marcelino, for sure. If it's not a crisis, it's a 0-1 or a final crisis or some crazy ass stuff all the time. Some new 52 rebirth. I mean, yeah, every 5 years it's kind of starting over again. I guess for me, I still hope that they dabble in the idea of the DCEU multiverse. I think characters like Batgirl, Blue Beetle, Supergirl with Sasha Kaye sort of thing. I think a lot of those characters can certainly stick around, especially if you apply it to the more multiversal concept. But I think from just a DC cinematic universe, like if you wanted to have your primary Earth, which is kind of what I felt Zack Snyder was like. Again, it is one of those things where I wish I could see the Flash movie. You know what I mean? Because to me, the Flash movie feels like it might have come at like the perfect time, because I feel like the Flash movie, like I said, could really work as a bit of a soft reboot to give us some fresh faces for some of our more popular characters like the Trinity. That would suck for me personally. I really do enjoy Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. I do enjoy Henry Cavill, but it is one of those things like, we haven't seen Homeboy put on his costume in such a long time. I know he says the cape is still in the closet. He still wants to play it. Uh, at this point, I just have no hope for a return for Henry Cavill. So I do think if they wanted to reboot the primary Earth of their DCEU, I think the Flash would be a great opportunity for them to do that. Unless they just chop it off at the knees and just say, you know what? We're just starting off fresh, guys. I really don't know, Marcelino, but I appreciate your opinion on what you feel that they certainly should do. Gabriel says, "Nah, I'm all right. Not having Wonder Twins movie. Yeah, it's not going to be for everybody. It's not going to be for everybody though. But yeah, man, we'll see, guys. We'll see. Let us know your thoughts in the live chat or the comment section box below in regards to what's going to happen. I do have hope that this will certainly turn out properly and really work out for them, because at the end of the day, any good comic book movie just helps raise all other comic book movies. There's really why there's no animosity between Marvel and DC, because they understand if one succeeds, the other succeeds. And I just want some good movies, man. I just want to be able to go to a DC movie and thoroughly enjoy it. But yeah, guys, let me know your thoughts in regards to brand new management at Warner Brothers Discovery, letting us know it may be time to overhaul DC Entertainment. Let your thoughts be known in the live chat or the comment section box below. I tell you, man, my coffee gets so cold so quickly. I wish I had like a little mini microwave in here so I can reheat my coffee like after every article. But we're going to go ahead and continue along with the realm of DC. Since you guys are talking a lot of Commissioner Gordon, some Batgirl, it is time to go ahead and dive into some Batgirl news for you guys today, as good old Leslie Grace is back in the news. Production has, in fact, wrapped on the project itself. It is set to go ahead and release this December, so Batgirl is currently in post-production. And Leslie Grace is certainly doing her rounds in regards to promotion, if you will. I believe she's currently in the middle of an ice cream promotion for Haagen-Dazs. But anytime Leslie Grace gets the opportunity to sit down and talk anything, reporters tend to certainly ask her about Batgirl. And over the past couple of weeks, we've been highlighting it for you. I would be lying if I said I wasn't getting hyped for it, because I am getting hyped for it. I feel like every time we get a tidbit of new information, a photo from the set or something like that, I continue to really anticipate this movie and hoping that it's coming together. And to be honest with you guys, this week, Leslie Grace spoke out about the movie and gave us some of our more insightful details about the film itself, really along with her own personal experience when it comes to tackling the Batgirl character and just the movie in general. So let's go ahead and dive into this, because I did find this really interesting. And, I'm becoming a really big fan of Leslie Grace. I first saw her in her first movie, In the Heights, which is a musical over on HBO Max. I thoroughly enjoyed it, especially somebody coming from New York myself. It definitely hit close to home, to say the least. But Leslie Grace continues to pun intended, grace us with her presence in Hollywood, as she's getting ready to go ahead and tackle just her second film, ladies and gentlemen, just her second film, and she gets the opportunity to play Batgirl. So this is, in fact, from Variety. It says Leslie Grace teases Batgirl is insane, says she's already talking to filmmakers about a sequel. So it seems as though that they're definitely liking what they are seeing. It says Leslie Grace is home in the US after spending months overseas shooting Batgirl, the upcoming HBO Max film adaptation of the iconic crime fighter. She takes on the role of Barbara Gordon slash Batgirl in the film. It says the cast includes J.K. Simmons as her father, Commissioner Gordon, and Brendan Fraser as the villain Firefly. And of course, we also have Michael Keaton set to make his return as Batman 30 years after his first appearance as the Caped Crusader. So the first part of this interview really is all about her Haagen-Dazs stuff, if you will. But let me see what else she winds up saying. It says, when we talked in September at the MTV Video Music Awards, you hadn't started shooting yet, but you told me that your Batgirl was going to be a badass. Did the badassery live up to what you were expecting? And she says, it definitely exceeded what I thought. I had to summon up some things in me that I didn't even know were there. It was an incredible learning experience to be on set also action veterans like Brendan Fraser, and I'm soaking up it all. It was so hard because he's our villain and I'm not supposed to like him, but he's such a huge teddy bear. He is one of the nicest people that I've ever met. Our fight sequences, the way that he just hit his marks, it all came from all of his experience. You can't improvise that kind of experience. There's some crazy stuff that happens. There's lots of fire because, as everybody knows by now, he plays Firefly. There's crazy fire. There's crazy stunts, crazy drops. She's a biker chick, so you're going to see her do a bunch of badassery. So that last sentence here, the idea that she says she's a biker chick, so you're going to see her do a bunch of badassery. For me, I'm hoping we get to see her version of the bite cycle, the bat cycle, if you will. I do remember the bat cycle. I can't remember if Alicia Silverstone had a bat cycle in her Batman movie that she was in with George Clooney and Chris O'Donnell. Something tells me she had a bat cycle, but when I do think of a bat cycle for Batgirl, for some reason I go back to the 1960s series of Adam West. I believe she had like a purple and yellow motorcycle, if I'm not mistaken. But I definitely think it fits her character, right? The fact that she's has her biker, she's a little bit of a biker chick. So I do hope that we get to see her very own bat cycle in here. And I think the idea of her being a biker works extremely well with just her suit, right? It looks like it's a biker's jacket sort of thing, something that's maybe a little pretty easy for her to have put together herself. But I do love the idea here that she says she had to summon up some things in her that she didn't even know were there. For me, I'm hoping that that's a really good showcase that Barbara Gordon as Batgirl really does kind of get pushed a little bit, maybe to her limits in this particular movie, being a newcomer to the vigilante scene, if you will. Even though she's probably grown up around I don't want to say villains, but these type of cases and stuff, for her to now sort of get her feet wet as part of being a vigilante. I'm hoping that that's implying that Barbara really does get pushed to a place in this movie she's never really been. And the fact of somebody like Leslie Grace, this being really her only movie, second movie that she's done, I am hoping that this movie has really pushed her to tap into some really great moments for Barbara in this movie. They also asked, were there nights that you got home and you were just in a lot of pain from all the stunts and fight work? She says, oh my God, there were a lot of night shoots. She says there are a lot of long days, but it was worth it. But oh my gosh, never in my life have I been so sore and depleted. There were some days I would just go home and think, do I want to eat or am I just going to fall asleep? So they definitely ran her ragged there for sure. They did ask her a couple of other questions in regards to what it was like with Michael Keaton on set, the idea if she's even heard from other superheroes like Gal Gadot and Alicia Silverstone, which I'm actually surprised. She says she hasn't. She says, I haven't. She hasn't reached out. She says, I probably should have. It's almost a little overwhelming and hard for your brain to catch up on the magnitude of what it is that you're doing, that it's almost like it's happening in a vacuum. I was just like, oh man, I hope I can do this. Am I in the club? I almost felt like the whole time I had this imposter syndrome. You want to earn your place, but now that you're mentioning it, I'm going to slip in a few DMs and ask, hey, what's your experience like? She said, I did reach out to Sasha Kaye, who is Supergirl in The Flash. Hopefully we get to meet soon. She said, I did reach out also to Jolo Maraduena, our blue Beetle. He is freaking awesome. So I'm so happy for him. So it looks as though Leslie Grace has definitely made her connection with her Hispanic family for sure. Good old Sasha Kaye and Jolo Maraduena. But it is one of those things where I kind of wish that maybe Gal Gadot, like, I know it asks, have you reached out to these actors? There's a part of me that kind of wishes that maybe like a Gal Gadot or even Alicia Silverstone reached out to Leslie Grace to kind of show their support for her, right? Like, I feel like even when Zoe Kravitz got the role for Catwoman, Halle Berry, and I believe even Michelle Pfeiffer reached out to Zoe Kravitz also. So Gal Gadot, get on it. Where's that damn DM? Slide into Leslie's DM. Don't let her have to come to you. Let's see here. And in the last section, it just says, when do you start shooting for Batgirl 2? And she immediately starts laughing. She says, we got to see this first one first, right? So she immediately understands, let's not get ahead of ourselves here. This first movie definitely has to come through. But she says, but there's definitely some talks about what it could be. I've seen some of of what we've shot, obviously in playback and stuff like that, and it's insane. So, granted, while I think all actors are probably always going to talk up their movies and say good things about it, they're not going to come up and say, "Yeah, we saw the movie. It's pretty shit. We might have to go back and reshoot this." They're definitely not going to say that, but there is something in Leslie's enthusiasm, the way that she's expressed herself and how she's tackled the Batgirl character over the past couple of interviews she's had, that makes me think that even she's pretty impressed. It says, we've already been talking about where do we go, where do we take this from here, because there's so much that happens in this film. She also says there are a lot of different themes in the plot that we touch on. This is not just the action. There is a love story. There's a father and daughter relationship. There's looking at the world through a lens that isn't just black and white, and seeing the color and the spectrum between things. And I think for me, out of all this interview, this is probably my most fascinating quote from her. The fact that there are a lot of different themes in here, because listen, as much as some of us are here for the action and we want to see all the Batgirl badassery that she's talking about, when we talk about the Batgirl movie, the two things that I have mentioned, or one of the things that I've definitely mentioned that I'm anticipating, is definitely the father and daughter relationship. I definitely, J.K. Simmons has even mentioned in his interviews when it comes to Commissioner Gordon that we're really going to see a different side of him. Well, I'm sure we're definitely getting the opportunity to see him being a commissioner. The idea that we've never really seen him at home in the setting with his family, trying to raise a daughter, having a daughter that maybe her curiosity is getting the best of her, and maybe she's trying to get a little bit more involved. Maybe Commissioner Gordon's protecting her, keeping her away from this type of stuff. And maybe Barbara wants to certainly be her own woman or prove that she's more than what these people are making her out to be, with them trying to protect her all the time. So I am really fascinated to see what the father and daughter relationship is really going to be like. I think J.K. Simmons is just really going to help bring the best out of her. I think the fact that she's mentioned the importance of having veteran actors like a Brendan Fraser that has all that type of experience, it is one of those things where I have always mentioned, especially if you've got a younger actor in a role, you definitely have to surround them with some veteran experience that knows what it takes to certainly make these big budget films. Because I do think if you got the best, a great writer that understands the character, a director that knows how to direct its actors, and you're acting off of somebody that has a ton of experience, I can only think that that helps raises you as a performer and brings the best out of you. So the father-daughter relationship I'm looking forward to, and really going back to the idea that things really are not black and white, especially when you're living very much in the world like Gotham. Things are going to be a lot more complicated than you certainly think. And it is one of those things where I can see Barbara easily thinking a situation is very black and white, and in a really terrible way learning. There's a lot of gray area there that she may not necessarily be ready for, but maybe being thrusted into a position where she's got to get used to it now, right? Or this is something she's got to kind of live with. So I'm really fascinated to kind of see that arc for Barbara Gordon in here, because it feels very much very parallel to that of a Leslie Grace, who I think is trying to prove herself, especially with this only being her second movie as well. So when she mentions things that there are a lot of eerie comparisons that she sees and she's able to draw from the Barbara Gordon character, I think that's exactly what she's referring to. Now, when she says there's a love story in here, the love story for me, does this confirm that we might be getting ourselves a Dick Grayson in here? I hope so. One of the set photos that we've had so far from Batgirl was a mural of Batman on a wall down some alley or street of Gotham City. It had a picture of Batman, and alongside Batman was, in fact, a young Robin. So I do wonder if that was a mural painting the heroes of Gotham at a very early time. Maybe 30 years have, in fact, passed. Maybe, less than that have passed. And maybe we've got ourselves a grown Nightwing somewhere out in the world already, an older Dick Grayson here, if you will. And it just feels like wherever there's a Dick Grayson or wherever there's a Barbara Gordon, the other is not that far away. You know what I mean? So even though she's not coming out saying Dick Grayson, if there is a love story involved, could we see a Dick Grayson in here? That's really one of the only connections that I'm making. So I do hope that that's exactly what we're going to be getting here and seeing how they navigate their relationship. It would also explain the need to also have maybe Michael Keaton in here as Batman. This is going to turn it. I mean, when she says there's a lot of stuff that happens in this film, it very much seems like it. And if the set photo of Batman and Robin, if they felt okay allowing us to see those leaked images, it just makes me wonder what else is certainly in this movie. But my anticipation level continues to rise, man. Leslie Grace continues to impress me in all of her interviews, and I'm loving what I'm hearing here. So we'll see what happens, man. Right now, this movie is still set to go ahead and be on HBO Max only. I am hoping that as we get closer to its release date, though, that they decide to go ahead and release this in theaters. I mean, I feel like it's got a potential for being a really big hit. I don't know if it's maybe the lack of confidence in Leslie Grace and being able to carry a movie, but I think with her having the veterans around her, hopefully that will certainly just bolster it for her. But we'll see, guys. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. I do think the better decision would be to move this over to theaters, but we'll certainly see. But now that you've heard things from Leslie Grace, is your level of anticipation certainly rising when it comes to Batgirl with some of the things that she has said? What has jumped out to you that you would certainly like to see explored further in this movie? Definitely go ahead and let us know your thoughts in the live chat or the comment section box below. There actually was another Leslie Grace interview that dropped earlier or late this week as well, but I don't believe I pulled that interview. I'm trying to see if there was anything else. Let me see what else they had though. That was 1 day ago. Everything you need to know. Maybe I'll find it some other time. Was it the Gizmodo one? I don't know. It looks like everybody else is just taking glimpses of that. But I thought I saw another one of Leslie Grace where she really even broke it down a little bit further. But yeah, guys, if you get the opportunity to find the article for yourself, please go ahead and let me know your thoughts. I'm going to go ahead and jump into the chat here. Did my chat just... Okay, I thought it... There we go. Here we go. Let's see what you guys are saying. Gabriel says, "Am I the only one who thinks Adam has a very soothed radio voice, host voice?" I hear that a lot, but thank you. Andrew does say, "Seeing Leslie as Barbara in this movie is just amazing. She looks absolutely fabulous in the suit." Yeah, I think the suit looks incredible on her personally. I do love the design of it. I did hear some pushback for some people saying it looked too amateurish. But look, when this is your very first costume, I think the idea of utilizing a a motorcycle suit is a pretty smart idea, honestly. I can't wait to see some of the cosplayers in regards to it too. Sexy Beast says, "Is it just me or J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson when he came for No Way Home? He wore similar clothes when he was Commissioner Gordon, like the hat and coat." Yeah, at least in the scene for No Way Home when he's outside of the what is it, the apartment building or the hotel building. I think when the cameraman calls him and is like, "I've located them. They're in this building, yada yada yada," and he goes out to get the scoop, if you will. Yeah, he did remind me a little bit of Commissioner Gordon in his trench coat and hat or whatever he was rocking. Sexy Beast says, "I still think Batgirl being on HBO is the best choice. If it was in theaters, it may not do as well at the box office." I mean, but that's the same thing that you can say about Jolo Maraduena as Blue Beetle, right? Like it's a very unknown character in Blue Beetle. Jolo, while there certainly is fame from Cobra Kai, I don't know if he's ever led his own big budget film before. You know what I mean? I mean, granted, they do have some great Susan Sarandon's connected to Blue Beetle now. George Lopez is connected. Like they do have some really great names for Blue Beetle, but I can almost say Blue Beetle's more of a risk of not doing so well at the box office than even Batgirl. Like Batgirl, at least you've got Leslie Grace, who's proven herself in a movie from In the Heights. Brendan Fraser, very much well known when it comes to Hollywood and just a recognizable face. We also got freaking Michael Keaton coming back as Batman. Like if that alone certainly like doesn't get you hyped to want to see Michael Keaton on the big screen, I think that alone would certainly get people to come in money wise. So I feel like Batgirl is almost a better choice to go to HBO, go to the box office than Blue Beetle. But at this point, I really want to see both of them. That would just be my preference. But you're right. There's always a risk of some of these flopping. Maybe there's more confidence in Blue Beetle than Batgirl. But I just think there's more star power in Batgirl to believe that it might be able to do okay in the box office. But we'll see. We'll see. All right, guys. But yeah, let me know your thoughts. Are you continuing to get hyped for Batgirl, hearing everything Leslie Gray said, or is there something in particular that you would like to see, or how do you read some of her comments? Let us know your thoughts in the live chat or the comment section box below after this video airs. All right, guys. And last but not least, well, not last but not least, but we are going to be changing course away from the DC EU for a while and start getting more into regular television and movie news for you guys as Stranger Things season 4 is quickly approaching. Remember, I believe season 5 might be the last season of Stranger Things. I remember the Duffy brothers recently just came out with a letter to let us know that when it comes to season 4 of Stranger Things, it was in fact going to be broken down into 2 seasons or 2 parts, if you will. Season 4 will be broken down into 2 parts. The first part coming in May, the second part coming in July. So they are in fact ramping up, if you will, for marketing, for promotion for this particular series. We've been getting ourselves not only brand new posters, but a bunch of brand new trailers. And this past week, we probably got our best look yet at the upcoming season with a brand new trailer. If you haven't had the opportunity to check it out, please do yourselves a favor, as a lot of things are certainly changing for these high schoolers, and we're definitely going to go ahead and talk about it with you guys today. I'm a really big fan of Stranger Things. I'm actually revisiting season 3 as of right now. I think we're maybe like 2 or 3 episodes in. Me and the girlfriend have been going back to go ahead and get caught up before the new season winds up starting. But just based off of the trailer that we've seen so far, it was like 3 minutes long. First off, amazing soundtrack. Thank you very much for just a great callback to the 80s. That whole 80s theme for Stranger Things just really works for me. It continues to be trippier and trippier for me to see how much these kids have certainly grown. Some of them don't even look like they're in high school anymore, to be perfectly honest with you. Let me go ahead and bring up their character list real quick. Stranger Things character list, so I can make sure I'm referring to everybody here. Lucas, the kid that plays Lucas in here, Caleb. I mean, homeboy looks like he's been in the gym. He got the flat top working out for him. Also, definitely bringing back the '90s haircut styles and everything. Everybody looks great in here, man. It really does. The fact that we get the opportunity to see Max played by Sadie Sink, she's got a pretty significant role in this trailer, which makes me think that she's definitely going to be having be at the forefront of this particular season also, which I'm a really big fan of. I absolutely love Sadie Sink. The last thing I saw Sadie Sink in was Netflix just dropped a trilogy of Fear Street. I believe she was in the 1984 Fear Street movie. I think that was like the second one, the sequel for that recent trilogy that we just got over on Netflix. And she did amazing work to me. It felt very much like a Jason movie, if you will. You know, like kids on a campground finding out it's haunted. You got a serial killer sort of thing. I thought she just played up the role extremely well, and she even wound up making my own personal fan casting for the Power Ranger movie or the Power Ranger series. Again, we'll see what happens when it comes to that. But I'm really thrilled to see Max continuing to get a significant role in this particular series. But it looks like this is going to be as creepy and as horror filled as any of these seasons have ever been. We've been seeing more of the upside down world in here. We even get ourselves an extremely creepy new villain and new bad guy to certainly explore. That we get the opportunity to see him pretty well in some of the interviews that I've seen so far. They're saying that this main villain is like 90% practical, so they really went all out with this costume design and just makeup design for this villainous new creature that we do hear narrating a little bit. We get to see his eyes open in the very beginning, and then of course a really great image of him towards the end as well. So we really are tapping into a very horrific aspect of Stranger Things that I think is really going to impress. Season 3 for me felt like the best season yet, after a lukewarm season 2 and a really great season 1. Season 3 really rebounded for me, and considering the fact that these Duffy brothers have the story that they certainly want to tell, lets me know that maybe we're going to be really ending on a fantastic high note. So but plenty more story to certainly go, but I did want to go ahead and dive into this, guys, because this actually comes to us from IGN, as IGN gives us personally a little bit more insight in regards to what we can expect from this season of season 4. So I am kind of curious if you guys are still watching the Stranger Things seasons, and if so, what have you thought about the series so far? But it says the creative duo goes deep on seasons 4, new big bad, and a whole lot more. Now, I'm not going to go ahead and read this entire article because trust me, when they say they go deep, they go deep. This is a really long article, so I would recommend you guys certainly check it out for yourself, if you will. But I do want to highlight just a couple of things in here. So one of the highlights here says Stranger Things Game of Thrones season. It says the Duffer brothers previously teased that this season is their Game of Thrones season, given the fact that all their characters are spread out after the Byers and Eleven move to California at the end of season 3, and Hopper is in Russia after, well, not actually dying. It does say the rest of the crew, meanwhile, remains in Hawkins, Indiana. And amidst all that, the kids are now actual teenagers navigating the ins and out of high school. So we're definitely going to get some high school drama in here for sure. In particular, the Duffers tease that it's going to be a Max heavy season as Sadie Sink's character deals with the fallout of her brother Billy's sacrificial death at the end of season 3. The new trailer features a shot from the 4th episode of season 4 titled Dear Billy, where we see Billy kneeling at Billy's grave. Yeah, that was definitely a heartfelt sacrifice at the very end of season 3. And I think the fact that we do get to see these characters now separated, really having to fight this force from two fronts, this really does now give one group to shine and another group to shine, and thus really maybe pushing Max into the forefront. And if there is anybody that I think is super talented to really help carry a portion of this series, It's Sadie Sink for sure, man. I think she's going to be an amazing actress as she continues to get older. So it says so much of this season is about Max. We open the season with her struggling with her grief and her trying to navigate that. And Max, on the other hand, is also someone who doesn't easily open up to people, which we've definitely seen. So a lot of what she's dealing with, she's struggling with internally. She shuts a lot of people out, which makes it even much more difficult. And that's definitely going to be a difficult place to see Max in regards to that. And seeing exactly where it may push her by the end of the season. Anytime that you struggle with keeping stuff inside of you internally, I feel like is just never a good thing, right? Things aren't looking much better elsewhere in Hawkins. While Lucas has scored a spot on the basketball team, the Duffers tease that he, Mike, and Dustin run into trouble in their friendship as they navigate high school and dive into new activities. I think this is also kind of a inkling of what was teased in season 3. You know, the idea of Dustin maybe going off to camp for a couple of weeks and coming back and seeing how much things have really drastically changed, right? His friends not maybe hanging out as much with him as he used to. You had 11 and Mike and them. You know, they were, in their relationship and just all lovey-dovey. As you start getting older, you start making new friends, start getting into activities that wind up taking your time away, right? Like, didn't even, damn it, what was the kid's name? Will, right? Like even Will was feeling some type of way that a lot of his friends might have changed on him too. I think maybe even was that season 2. I can't remember when Billy was feeling that. That might actually not Billy. When Will was feeling that, that actually might have been season 3 also. So now that we get into the high school drama of things significantly changing in kids' life, yeah, that's definitely a lot more drama for sure. So it says so many bad things that have happened in this town that people are starting to question what's going on here. The government has attempted to sort of push things under the rug, but that mall fire and all of that was too big really for anyone to ignore. So there is this growing sense of there is something wrong with this town, and some people even saying that it's cursed. And we've definitely we saw that in the brand new trailer, saying like, what's wrong with this town? Is it cursed sort of thing? And showcasing that, yeah, maybe it is. Maybe it is. But it also says we also see 11 now living with the Byers in California, still without her powers, attempting to fit in high school. Given that she doesn't quite understand social cues and has been pretty sheltered up until this point, it is safe to say that it's not going smoothly. And Joyce has got a brand new marketing job, but her life is thrown into turmoil when, as we see in the trailer, she gets a package that's seemingly from Russia, which starts an epic journey for her and the brothers as the brothers tease. So a lot of really big developments in here, man. That's certainly happening. They do talk about some new additions. They mentioned Robert Englund is in here, the gentleman that portrayed Freddy Krueger in Nightmare on Elm Street. I think I posted some pictures too. Let me see, because we did get ourselves. Yeah, here's Robert right there with his eyes looking like sealed shut. Super creepy stuff, man. But yeah, here's the kids just looking all grown. I'm assuming this is a flashback of 11 when she was captured, maybe at a younger age. I don't know. I highly doubt that this is current, but it definitely looks like more like a flashback. This definitely looks like the package that she's received that they're certainly referring to. This is the new bad guy, which I think we'll get into as well. But here's our crew that we've seen. Was it Mike, Dustin, and Lucas? All hanging out together, if you will, also. So yeah, man, some really great shots here. I am fascinated by this one also. Again, the opportunity to see Max levitating. I am kind of curious if there is some kind of connection going on with maybe Billy in the afterlife, or maybe something happened in in the last season. She maybe got some powers came to her, or whatever the case may be. Who knows? Maybe this is just like a dream sequence for all we know that we're certainly seeing in front of us. But we definitely have some new additions to look forward to. They also mentioned the idea that they're definitely going back to the upside down. It says fans who missed the upside down in season 3 should not fret. We get more than a few shots of the upside down in the trailer alone, including the aforementioned shot of Steven fighting with the brothers called Demobots. and they tease that we will be seeing a lot more of this supernatural world in season 4. Yeah, it looks like we got a little bit of a haunted house sort of experience happening there. It says we didn't get to go into the upside down in last season at all due to the narrative, and this season we wanted to really go in there and spend some time there. So that's something that we're super excited about this season. We also get a glimpse at the Creel house, something that's been teased heavily in the promotional material in both Hawkins and the upside down world. It says this was a more horror leaning season. We had our kids, they're obviously in high school, and it just felt very natural that they should be sort of in a horror movie. So that's what this season is definitely going to feel like. Elements of a horror movie taking place sort of like with haunted house elements. But they also mentioned the idea that there's a new big bad. It does say here, and I'll even bring up the picture of the big bad too, so you guys can see. It says perhaps the juiciest part of this very juicy trailer was not one, but two shots of our new big bad, as brother revealed his name to be, was that Vesna, Vecna, which I believe, if I remember, some people were mentioning that they took that name from a Dungeons and Dragons game. I believe that actually might be the name of one of the villains in Dungeons and Dragons. It says one comes at the very beginning with a shot of him opening his eyes, his voiceover, and then of course towards the end, you get the opportunity to see him. This is what they say. They say those were the monsters that really inspired us this season. Something else we really wanted to go back to season 1 and actually do a monster that we could do most practically. What you're seeing here is 90% practical effects, and Vesna throughout the season is 90% practical. We wanted a presence on the set that our actors could react to, whereas in season 3, they were reacting to a beach ball. We wanted something there that we could actually film, and I just think it makes this villain scarier and more real and tangible, and we're just really excited for people to see him this season. And he does look absolutely terrifying. The fact that he is practically all practical makes me a very happy camper. I am a big fan of villains that have humanoid forms, that have facial expressions, that you can see the emotions and the fear in their face, sort of thing. Because I just feel like at the end of the day, it does allow the actors to put their best foot forward and really feel the same terror that we as viewers certainly do also. So I do think it really does get the best reaction out of your cast. But I'm loving everything that we're hearing so far, man. Let me see. It might have given us a release date again. Give me a second here. So yes, season 4, part 1 hits Netflix May 27th, and the second part July 1st. So May 27th and July 1st will be part 1 and part 2 of this season. And I'm really, really looking forward to this, man. Let me see. Nicole says, "Oh, it's interesting that season 4 of Stranger Things is broken in 2 parts with the actual date for the second part to be released a month after the first one. If only Dino Fury did the same thing. Yeah, if only. Unfortunately, maybe the Duffer Brothers are just a little bit more creative and ahead of the curve here, if you will." Dwayne, what's up, Dwayne? Good to certainly see you, man. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for certainly coming through. But yeah, I'm certainly excited for this. I'm definitely going to go ahead and try and finish off season 3 of Stranger Things once again and enjoy it for the second time around to really go ahead and get myself pumped up and hyped for season 4. So I cannot wait, guys. And it's going to be sad for me to kind of say farewell to this show. But, I'd rather this show go out on a high note, telling the story that it certainly wants to tell, instead of drawing it out any longer than it certainly needs to. But all right, guys, we're going to go ahead and transition into our next topic. We got 3 more topics for you guys here real quick, and then we're going to get into live viewer questions. Maybe I'll put that on my Amazon wish list. Maybe I'll put like a little mini microwave, or maybe I'll just go get me some ice cubes and change this from a hot coffee to a iced coffee. All right, guys, let's go ahead and transition into our next topic. Another television tidbit for you guys here. This was actually announced very early in the week. We may fly through some of these topics here, so certainly bear with me. But one of the big developments, especially when it comes to the streaming world these days, is a lot of streaming services trying to find brand new content or at least intellectual properties that they can jump on board that haven't been utilized or used in quite some time, and really use to their advantage to go ahead and bolster brand new subscribers. One of those intellectual properties is none other than Percy Jackson himself, most notably known from the various novels over the years in regards to it. Percy Jackson has, in fact, had a couple of movies, some successful, maybe not so successful at the box office, if you will. I can't remember how many Percy Jackson movies we even got, maybe like two or three, if I'm not mistaken. And while those certainly didn't necessarily fare very well when it came to the movie theater, it seems as though Disney Plus wants to give Percy Jackson a shot. And we announced this a couple of weeks ago that Disney Plus has officially picked up a Percy Jackson series. But it's this week, ladies and gentlemen, that we actually get ourselves the casting for Percy Jackson himself. So let's go ahead and dive into this, guys. This article comes to us from variety.com to let us know Disney Plus has found its Percy Jackson. And this gentleman might seem familiar to you guys if you've checked out the current Netflix movie, The Adam Project. That's right. It says Percy Jackson has cast Adam Project star Walker Scobell to lead role or in the lead role. So yeah, the Percy Jackson and the Olympian series has cast Walker Scobell in the lead role. Variety has learned exclusively. It says the series adaptation of the Rick Riordan book series was ordered at the streamer back in January. The live action show tells the fantastical tale of the 12-year-old modern demigod who's just coming to terms with the newfound supernatural powers when the sky god Zeus accuses him of stealing his master's lightning bolt. Now Percy must trek across America to find it and restore order to Olympus. Percy is described as a smart and compassionate kid with a sharp sense of humor. He always sees himself as an outsider, in no small part because of the world sees him, because how the world sees his ADHD and his dyslexia, his impulsive and rambunctiousness, and is quick to anger when things seem unfair to him. But beneath his cynicism is an affectionate son and loyal friend who just wants to do right by those he cares about. If only he could find a place where he fits in. So it does say Scobell made his film debut. So his first film was The Adam Project, opposite Ryan Reynolds and Mark Ruffalo, along with Zoe Saldana. And now he's getting the opportunity to check it out. It says per Netflix, the film has was viewed for over 92 million hours in its debut weekend in March. And Scobell does have a couple of other films on board as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, introducing our Percy Jackson in Walker Scobell. I personally haven't had the opportunity to watch the Adam Project, but I've heard some really great things from it. This is one of the opportunities where I really wish that I had Indy and Stewart here to kind of give me their thoughts, not only on the movie, but how they personally enjoyed Walker here. So while I'm not familiar with Walker or what he did in the movie, I will say this. I am a big fan of this choice here for Disney Plus to go ahead and tackle Percy Jackson. You know, with Percy being very much novels and a series of books, you know, the idea of trying to really put all that stuff together in one movie, or to kind of spread that out over a trilogy, I think probably was maybe the downfall of the movies itself. I don't know how accurate it was or how people that read the book felt about the movies personally. But I do think when it comes to maybe book adaptation, I do think that maybe the format of storytelling for a Disney Plus series might really work to the benefit of a series itself. I don't know how many episodes we're going to be getting. Maybe anywhere between 6 and 9, 6 and 10. Who certainly knows? But I do think if you're just taking maybe say one book and you give us 44-minute episodes, I think you can really do a Percy Jackson book justice and really kind of have some amazing storytelling with that format of it being more episodic instead of having to tell a story within the 2 hour time period. So I do think similar, I do think that there are similar types of medians out there, whether that be like or whether that be novels or video games, things that are like that, I feel almost become a little bit easier to adapt in the format of a series itself instead of something directly to a video game. Some things probably work easier than others, but I think when you've got as much content and lore as you do when it comes to Percy Jackson, yeah, a lot of that stuff is probably a little bit easier to digest in a series form. So I do think that this will be a really great revitalization for Percy Jackson, an IP that I think unfortunately just didn't get properly handled in the past. But now, if HBO, if Warner Brothers Discovery wants to talk about the idea of revitalization, this is a great opportunity for Percy Jackson to be revitalized thanks to Disney Plus. So, look, if the Adam Project is as good as people say that it certainly is, or enjoyable, if this kid can certainly work opposite somebody like a Ryan Reynolds and a Mark Ruffalo and leave impressions, the idea of tackling his own series should be interesting to kind of see what he can do. But Percy Jackson, the development continues for this series as the lead role has officially been cast, guys. So go ahead and let me know your thoughts in the live chat or the comment section box below in regards to that casting choice. Again, if you've had the opportunity to see Adam Project, what did you think about what did you think about Mr. Scobell himself? Did he do pretty good? Do you think he can carry the role of somebody like a Percy Jackson? I definitely want to go ahead and know your thoughts in the live chat or the comment section box below, guys. And again, I've never read a Percy Jackson book in my life. I did watch the first movie and enjoyed it. And I think I watched it mostly because of the fact that I knew who the lead actor was going into it and kind of liked his work in the past. So I was like, you know what, I'll check it out. And I was always really big already on the fantastical elements when it comes to novels and stuff. So I felt maybe it was like right up my alley. So I didn't mind the first movie so much, but I definitely didn't watch the second one. And if there was a third one, I definitely didn't watch it. But I do think that this format of a series itself will work wonders for it. But again, guys, let me know your thoughts in the live chat or the comment section box below. And we will transition over to our last two topics today, this time in the realm of movies, as this one's going to be a little bit more of a video game adaption here. I did have Indy and Stuart try and do some research here. I'm not too familiar with this game that we're about to go ahead and get start talking about. I very much know of it for sure. I've definitely seen my fair share of trailers, know the level of anticipation of it coming out, the bonkers numbers that this video game has certainly done. I have just not had the opportunity to play it myself, but it's definitely garnered enough attention to warrant its own movie. And the video game we're talking about, ladies and gentlemen, is a Ghost of Tsushima. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go ahead and bring this up here as we do have some development in regards to it. As when it comes to the Ghost of Tsushima, while we already have our director, which is going to be Chad Stahelski from John Wick doing this movie, it also says here, according to Deadline, that they have landed a writer with Takashi Dosher. So we've got a writer and a director now on board, and that's got to be a good sign for this movie to come to fruition. So let's go ahead and dive into this. I'm not familiar with Takashi Dosher, so let's go ahead and find out a little bit more about him. This is an exclusive from Deadline. It says Takashi Dosher is set to write the screenplay for Sony Pictures and PlayStation Productions film adaptation of the latter's hugely successful action adventure game Ghost of Tsushima. It says which crossed a massive milestone in January with more than 8 million copies sold since its July 2020 debut. The project is in early development, so very much in early stages. If he's just been brought on board, Takashi Dosher, I am kind of curious as to how far along he is. Has he at least written a treatment for this already? Are we on our second script? Are we on our third draft, our final draft? I would be curious to see how far along in this early development we are. It says the game from Sucker Punch Productions follows samurai warrior Jin Sakai, the last surviving member of his clan who must set aside the traditions that have shaped him as a warrior to wage an unconventional war for the freedom of Tsushima. And then it says, yeah, as Deadline first told you back in March of last year, John Wick filmmaker Chad Stahelski is attached to go ahead and direct. Dosha's recent screenplay Blue is currently in development and is a twist on a Japanese monster movie. Previously, Dosha wrote and directed the romantic sci-fi romance Only. And then his debut feature Still as well, or just a few of the movies he's had under his belt. So not sure if you guys are familiar with anything that Takashi has certainly done, but while I'm personally not familiar, I think the fact that we are going to see movement on this particular movie finally coming into place, I kind of like what we're getting in here. I am going to be kind of curious what Takashi's background is, his own cultural history. You know, I think as far as a writer goes, while I'm not familiar with the lore of Ghost of Tsushima, somebody that is familiar with that maybe time period or era of Japan, I think would be really fascinating to go ahead and maybe take a crack at writing this. So I would be kind of curious to learn a little bit more about Takashi in regards to his lifestyle, how he grew up, where he grew up at, sort of thing, and just to kind of see maybe what else he's kind of done to see if he's truly the right man for the job. But if if they feel that he certainly is, for me, it's just really great to see that this video game has not only been successful, but the momentum of his success is really carrying it into like a quick start development, if you will, for something to really happen here. And it could be bonkers, man. It could be pretty impressive, but we'll see what happens here. I've already liked Chad. I feel confident with him as a director. It's really all going to come down to the script for me, and if it really holds up. But yeah, guys, let me know your thoughts. At the end of the day, Ghosts of Tsushima has officially found its writer. So we've got the writer and director in place. We'll certainly let you know once we actually have further information on the casting, once that starts getting announced. Speaking of casting, more casting news for you guys today as we transition over to our last topic, and that will be in the realm of television once again. As we've been talking, we've mentioned the idea of a National Treasure series in development over at Disney Plus, and we are continuing to get more casting announcements. You know, this past week, was it last week or maybe the week before? You know, Nicolas Cage is out currently promoting one of his upcoming movies, and I remember one of the interviews that I wind up reading. Somebody asked Nicolas Cage about a possible National Treasure 3 that I think has been thrown around by the studio when it comes to Disney. And one of the things that Nicolas Cage mentioned was the idea that, you know, his relationship with Disney is not necessarily in the best spot in the world. You know what I mean? And so he really kind of cancels out the idea of him ever returning once again for a National Treasure movie or series. So that is a little bit of a bummer to know that Nicolas Cage, in fact, won't be returning. But trust me when I say that's definitely not stopping Disney Plus from greenlighting and pushing forward with a National Treasure series. As though while Nicolas Cage isn't returning to reprise his role, somebody certainly is. So let's go ahead and dive into this. This is our last article coming to us from the Hollywood Reporter, as good old Justin Bartha is in fact set to reprise his National Treasure role in the Disney Plus series. The actor will guest star as computer expert Riley Poole. So good old Riley's coming back. I really enjoyed Riley in the National Treasure movie, to certainly say the least. I think he was a great sort of opposite to that of Nicolas Cage, coming through not only as the tech guy, but also as like the comedic aspect, if you will, of the movie. It says the National Treasure series at Disney Plus is bringing on a familiar face. Justin Bartha, who co-starred opposite Nicolas Cage in the 2 National Treasure films, will reprise his role as Riley Poole on the show. He'll guest star in this series, which is currently filming in Louisiana. So it's filming. This is definitely happening. There's no ifs, ands, buts about it. Details on how Riley comes back into the story are being kept under wraps. It does say that picked up to series last year, National Treasure star Lisette Alexis as Jess, a brilliant and resourceful dreamer who begins the adventure of a lifetime to uncover the truth about her family's mysterious past and recover a lost Pan American treasure. The show is described as an expansion of the movie franchise, and with Bartha casting now, has a definitive connection to the two films released in 2004 and 2007. I might want to go back and re-watch these movies. I had a fun time with these were back during like when Pirates of the Caribbean movies were fun, swashbuckling adventures. The idea of like running around the world or the United States to hunt for clues and cryptic messages on back of national treasure documents and coins and I think if you're a fan of history or some of the secrets of history, this type of stuff really entices you and it's always fun. Like I always love the idea of a fun adventure in the search of something that's been lost for such a long time. Like those type of themes when it comes to movies really work for me. When you've got a really great cast that have great chemistry that just builds off of each other that the National Treasure chemistry had, I think that's why it was as successful as it certainly was. It was a fun story, and the chemistry and the relationships with everybody really worked out for me. So the fact that we're going back to that, having a brand new character in here that has a mysterious past to everything that's happened before, the hunt for a lost treasure. Also, this is like right up my alley for a really good time and some really great references to history in the past and making some bigger connections here. So I think this is smart. National Treasure was super successful. People have always been asking for a third one in quite some time. You know, if we can't give them a third one, maybe we can give them a continuation of that story. This feels very much like a spinoff to me in that regards. And so I'm here for it. I think there's plenty of more National Treasure to certainly be told. And for somebody like me, I used to read a lot of like Dan Brown books that deal with a lot of history and like Catholic lore, books like the Da Vinci Code and Angels and Demons and stuff, the whole deciphering clues and trying to find secrets and stuff. I eat that shit up, man. I eat that up too. Those are always really fun adventures for me. So I'm really glad that Disney is at least bringing back this property in some way, shape, or form. And regardless of it being a guest appearance in here, one, the fact that we've got connective tissues, I'm a big fan of, and Justin Bartha is just always great to certainly see on screen. And I think he's definitely going to deliver when it comes to this. So I didn't even know it was currently filming, so this is certainly brand new news to me. But I am thrilled to see that this is going to be here before we certainly know it. And while I don't really watch, I feel like when it comes to Disney Plus series, I find myself watching a lot of Marvel and Star Wars stuff on there, but I haven't really dabbled in other original series projects that Disney Plus has in fact created. A lot of that stuff I go to like HBO Max and Netflix for. I haven't really seen the quality of Disney Plus series outside of the big intellectual properties like Marvel and Star Wars. So this might be one of the few and rare Disney Plus streaming service shows that I actually watch outside of those other two big names. So I'm excited for this, man. I think this is a really great score for them. But yeah, guys, at the end of the day, I definitely want to go ahead and know your thoughts. Justin Bartha returning for National Treasure series. What's your level of anticipation? Go ahead and certainly let me know your thoughts. Datilla says, she says, I love the National Treasure movies. I was always bummed that there was no third film. She also says, my 10th grade teacher showed both films in class. I used to love those days, those movie days in class when sometimes your teacher didn't have the curriculum to test or to learn or teach, I should say, is the word I'm looking for, to teach. And you had maybe like a substitute teacher come in and start playing like movies for you guys. I don't know if that was your situation, to tell it, but I always just love watching movies in class for sure. All right, guys. I think with that out of the way, damn, I didn't even get the opportunity to put up my banner for the Justin Bartha series. I'll click on this just for like 2 seconds to at least say I did use it briefly. But with that, guys, we will go ahead and wrap up that last story. And it's time for live viewer questions. An inspiration of good old uh Good old Stuart. Let's see here what you guys are saying. I'm going to go ahead and bring this up. See how many emails we got here today. All right. Damn, y'all came out again. Y'all just flooded me with questions. This is not y'all just killing me in the mornings. Y'all stay up late. Like, where are all you guys located at? I'm getting emails at 1:30 in the morning, literally like 5 minutes after each other. It's really not even taking you guys as that long. Like literally 5, 6, 2 minute increments. Where are you guys all living that you're sending in questions at 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, 10 o'clock in the morning? I swear I think some of y'all are trolls, man. Let's see here. What do we got? There was Ionis. I did want to start off with Ionis because he did have a comment last week and we didn't get the opportunity to get to it. So I will go ahead and check it out here. So Ionis. He says, if you like this movie, then kudos to you, but I did not. Matt Reeves, the Batman, is boring. Okay, so every single person I've asked about this new Batman movie told me that the movie was good or the best movie that the Batman movie they've already seen. But I think this is one of the worst movies I've seen for some reasons. The movie is so long and without much to show. I think that this movie is so long, not slow, but long. And it does not have the right to be. I don't know what that means. How does the movie not have the right to be? Some scenes feel like they were filmed just to lengthen the movie, like the Batmobile one. Honestly, it felt like pure fan service to me. All those scenes at the Iceberg Lounge felt like they were not in place, and many others. This new Bruce Wayne is lame. Okay, I hate this new Bruce Wayne. The fact that he is someone that does not care about the Wayne legacy just kills me. For some reason, it feels like Bruce Wayne is a character of Batman when the opposite should happen. For me, Bruce Wayne should be the businessman that cares about PR. Now that he won't have the meeting at Wayne Enterprise, I will get back to that. Robert Pattinson as Brain was a fine choice. As Bruce was a fine choice. I totally didn't see him as the dude from Twilight film. He proved himself to be a solid Batman, and as an actor, I haven't seen any of his other films. Riddler character building. The only thing I have to complain about the Riddler is that at the end of the movie, he feels out of character. I mean, his plan was to take down and expose the elite of Gotham, and he does just that till the end of the movie, where he goes full on Joker and decides to kill all of those innocent people. That was so out of character and out of line for him. Batman is a freaking tank when he wants. Okay, why at that scene in the end he was almost killed by a random guy with the gun when the rest of the movie he tanked everything? A couple things here. Thank you very much for your opinion, Ionis. I really do appreciate it, man. I'm glad to see that at the end of the day, when it comes to Robert Pattinson as Bruce, and even with the Riddler, that you were big fans for the most part of both of them. Um, I think one of my complaints that I did have when it came to the Batman is it did feel a little bit too long to me personally. Um, you say it wasn't slow. I am kind of so if it wasn't slow and it was too long, yet it was boring to you, I feel like it's a little bit of a mixed signals there. But I will say this. I did feel the movie was a little bit long. I probably would have shaved personally a couple of minutes off of it. Um, it feels a little bit long and extended on, like the whole l- final act does feel a little bit tacked on to me when I watch it. So I definitely will agree with you there. The new Bruce Wayne being lame. See, I think for us that's where we really do differ, in the sense that it feels like Bruce Wayne is a character of Batman when the opposite should happen, and you think it's Bruce Wayne. See, when I think of Batman, I think of Batman being Batman. Like I think Batman is his persona, and Bruce Wayne is the um or I should say Batman's his secret identity, and Bruce Wayne is his character, you know? That's kind of how I've always seen it. That Bruce Wayne is the face, is the facade. Um, I think Bruce Wayne died the day that his parents were killed. And I think that's what we're seeing. The idea that we're seeing Bruce Wayne morph into something else, something bigger than himself, that he feels Gotham certainly needs. So the idea that he takes up the mantle, when I think of Batman, I think of Batman as the main character and Bruce Wayne as the facade. And I feel like that's usually how we're supposed to view him. But maybe you prefer the Bruce it to be opposite. Um, I think you have to also go into the movie understanding the time period in which you're into. You're talking about you want a Bruce Wayne that cares about PR. I won't even have any meetings at Wayne Enterprise. You're talking about somebody that's well into his life, that's accepted a lot of what's happened in his past. Whereas if you follow the context of what the Batman truly is as a movie, this is literally Bruce Wayne's only second year. You know what I'm saying? His attention isn't on, I got to put on a good facade to represent the Wayne family. It's really, how can I change my city to avoid what happened to my parents to anybody else? The fact that he's still looking at this kid that lost his parents in this movie, and he sees himself, that's the type of stuff that he's fighting for. So he very much is not willing to embrace that Bruce Wayne side of him, because of the fact that he is very much still raw and still feeling the crutch and the pain and the grief that his parents certainly being left. So, you clearly went into this movie with the expectation of uh a different mindset for Bruce Wayne, and a different time period in his career than what the filmmaker was certainly going for. So in cases like that, I would just say maybe kind of take a step back and don't project your own vision of what you have for a character onto somebody else's vision that is trying to tell a completely different story than what you want them to tell. You know what I mean? So for me, when I look at that, that's probably my only pushback to your comment that I will go ahead and put out there. I've never seen Bruce Wayne as the main character. It's always Batman to me. And the facade is Bruce Wayne, and maybe he's just gotten better at balancing that as he's gotten older, when it comes to accepting the loss and handling this grief of his parents, and being a completely different time period and mindset than what he's at here in the Batman. So I definitely get what you're saying, but that would be my only pushback to that. Let's see what else you guys are talking about here. Jessica Friedman, is there a word on season 3 of Harley Quinn? It's coming. They have mentioned, I think the last DC fandom they did tease that, yes, Harley Quinn season 3 is coming. Be patient, I believe, is even what Harley Quinn herself even said. And which new superhero show do you think will get picked up? We'll see what happens with Gotham Knights. That's the only one that's out there right now that I feel like is uncertain. I don't think they have any other new shows that have been announced that I'm waiting on getting picked up. So I think right now, just waiting on what was the name of the show? That was just on top of my head. I just literally had it. Gotham Knights. Gabriel, what's up, Gabriel? Again, this is another reason why I kind of wish I had Indy and Stewart here in regards to any Flash questions. So if I butcher these Flash questions, or they're not as in detail as you certainly would like, guys, I do apologize. I'm not about to I just don't follow the Flash like I used to. Gabriel says, what do you guys think of the photos I sent on Discord of a new female speedster named Mina Dewan and Tom Cavanaugh as a new black version of Reverse Flash? Do you think these are legit? I do think that the costumes and the scenes that you're seeing in the photos you sent certainly are legit. The actress who is listed as Mina follows Grant on social media. Could this mean Reverse Flash recruits his own partner to take down Team Flash? That I don't know. I'm not even familiar with who this character is. She's got definitely very much a speedster costume on. It almost looks eerily opposite of that of Grant Gustin's Flash costume. So I don't know who these characters are, but yes, it is very much legit. These are characters I believe are going to be showing up there for sure. You also ask, what do you think of the possibility of Superman getting a revival or recast of Henry Cavill in the DCEU? According to the article by The Direct, it might happen. Yeah, it certainly might happen. Variety certainly reported it, mentioned the idea that they felt that characters like Superman were just languishing, just sitting around, not being taken advantage of, and feel like those are perfect opportunities to revitalize these characters and bring them to the forefront. So it does feel like it could be a case of, hey, we're going to completely reboot, or we're going to take what's already given to us and do our best to inject some sort of hype and anticipation and rework these characters to bring them sort of back into the forefront. I don't know if that's the route that they want to go. I would think it would. I personally would feel it would be an extreme disservice to Henry Cavill to not certainly bring him back. But maybe you want a fresh start. You know, it's just it's a weird position to be in right now. I would not want to be an executive at DC to kind of make these decisions. It's been such a uphill climb for DC to impress anybody these days. And so it is one of those things where, do you continue on with what you're doing and try and change course, or do you immediately just chop it off at the knees and recast Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman, and launch a whole new DCEU saying, hey, we tried. It's leaking fuel right now. There's no way to really fix the situation. What we're doing now might just be putting band-aids on it, but you could still see its scars. Maybe we rather you not see our scars and just start over. So while I don't want Henry Cavill to be rebooted or recast, let me just say it wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me, just in the sense of, look, we need a fresh start, fresh coat of paint. We need to showcase ourselves as something else than what came before, and show people we're putting good faith towards these decisions. That's a tough one, man. That's a tough one. Whatever WB decides, I will swallow and be okay with, because I think just based off of the debacle that has been the DCEU, with some bright spots here and there, don't get me wrong, I do think it, it would cause for a reboot if that's what they certainly wanted to do, but we'll see. But I think you've got such great things already, right? Like the Batman Robert Pattinson, don't touch that. You just literally launched that to some rave reviews by a lot of people. Don't touch that. That would just feel really dumb to me. Unless they decide, hey, we want to make Robert Pattinson our main Batman going forward, but it's such a grounded world, if you will. I guess maybe you can launch your cinematic universe with this Bat family type of thing if you want, and then expand upon it. But who knows? Again, I think the movies that we have out or already in post-production, ready to be released, I think those will be released. Anything that hasn't officially gotten in front of the camera as of yet, though, I think could potentially be on the chopping block. Michael Rhymes, what impact did National Treasure bring pop culture? Would you ever like to see Nicolas Cage return in the future? I would like to see him return in the future. I know he's got his beef with Disney, but I hope that they're able to squash that and he eventually comes back. Because I think Nicolas Cage is such a fantastic actor. I think he's one of the best actors in Hollywood today, easily top 5. I do love me some Nicolas Cage for sure. I don't know the impact that National Treasure had, but I guess maybe in the sense of impacted the curiosity of, people wondering the secrets of America, the secrets of American history sort of thing. I think that type of thing maybe it taps into a little bit of a conspiracy theory mindset that some people tend to have, right? To see bigger pictures that maybe aren't there, but we all would love to see. Like, oh man, you're trying to tell me there's a map on the back of the Independence of like the Declaration of Independence. Like, yeah, man, that's so freaking cool. I knew all along. I knew it was conspiracy was true. Like, I don't know. I think it maybe just taps into that adventurer of us, conspiracy theorist aspect of us a little bit too, and finds a nice little niche and home there. I don't know if it was super impactful on pop culture, but in the sense of how it maybe affected some people, yeah. Some of your favorite music albums and artists to be included in a show or a movie. Some of your favorite musical albums and artists to be included in the show or a movie. Oh, you know who I thought did that really well? Is going to show my, I don't want to say show my age, but show some of the things I was interested in. Grey's Anatomy, I always thought had fantastic fucking soundtracks, man. Grey's Anatomy introduced me to The Fray, which The Fray went on to have like two huge albums, if I'm not mistaken, just based off of popularity from uh, um, Grey's Anatomy. That's a great one. Um, Favorite music albums and artists. I think even Dashboard Confessional on Spider-Man 2 soundtrack. There are some artists on Spider-Man 2 soundtrack that got brought to my attention. Like I think Dashboard Confessional did Vindicated off of Spider-Man 2, which is a great song. That's a great album off of that soundtrack. There's a bunch of them. But those are the two that really kind of come to mind in regards to favorite music albums or artists, favorite music artists included in the show. I mean, look, you can always go Eminem and Lose Yourself for 8 Mile, which is a classic in and of itself. There's some great ones, man. There's some great ones. Dino AJ, what's up, Dino AJ? How excited are you for Marvel Ant-Man's 3? And do you think it will be one of the best Marvel films we've had? And do you think this will change how you saw the second film? I don't think it'll ever change how I saw the second film unless there's something that happens in the second film that gets brought up in this third film where it's like it has monumental impact. I mean, outside of maybe say was it not the quantum realm? What was the realm that they were in? They would shrink down to, that probably will continue to play a much bigger role in Ant-Man 3. I did just read a recent article with Michelle Pfeiffer on Ant-Man 3. We did post it up on our Facebook page where Michelle Pfeiffer talks about just the secrecy that comes with a lot of these Marvel movies these days. The fact that she's signed on to be a part of these two Marvel movies, like without seeing the script at all or even knowing what her character was up to, and that they sometimes would not get their script until just days before filming. So a lot of the time, Marvel has become so secretive with their stuff that they're not even letting these actors see the scripts and the impact that their characters are certainly having, and that's crazy to me. I do think that the momentum is certainly on Ant-Man 3's side. I think the moment that you mentioned Jonathan Majors popping up as Kang the Conqueror in this particular movie, or maybe some iteration or variant of Kang pops up in here, that alone I think has the momentum. It is all the momentum that it needs. And then comes the star power with, Paul Rudd, Michelle Pfeiffer. I mean, the list goes on and on. Evangeline Lilly, Michael Douglas. I mean, come on, man. Hopefully Carlos Pena? Hopefully he comes back. We'll see, man. But I am really anticipating Ant-Man 3 way more than I was the second film. Could it be one of the best Marvel films? I think all of them potentially have that potential to be. But at this point, Marvel just continues to succeed and push out great content that I have no reason to really doubt them, You also asked, with there being a Dragon Ball superhero movie or superhero movie, what were some of your favorite episodes or moments from all of the past Dragon Ball series? And have you played the video games? I've dabbled a little bit in the video games. I used to play them a lot more back in the day when it was harder to come by Dragon Ball Z games. Like there used to be just Dragon Ball Z games that would literally only work in Japan. I think they had like certain codes or would only work for certain things. Like literally I found like on the black market back in the day for my PlayStation, this little spring that when you open up the disc, you put this little spring in there and there's like a button so that when you close it, it changes the region or the code so you can then play Japanese games on a US PlayStation. Like this is the type of stuff that we had to do back in the day as kids to get our stuff to kind of work like that. So we would go to my friends would go to Chinatown sometimes and come back with Japanese video games, and it would be sometimes Dragon Ball, and so that's how we would play the Japanese Dragon Ball video games back in the day on our PlayStations. But it's been a minute since I've actually played a Dragon Ball game, but the graphics have always looked fantastic over the years for sure. Um, let's see here. Sorry, some of my favorite episodes, moments. I always love the Namek saga, seeing Vegeta's first appearance in there. Cell was incredible, always gave me chills just seeing Gohan break into his first Super Saiyan level and channeling the power and the encouragement of his father go ahead and take down Cell. I mean, after Cell, I think we just assumed that Gohan was going to be just the fucking badass thing, and he never unfortunately reached his fullest potential. I always love Gotenks. Great. The fusions were always fun for me. Tournaments were always fun for me to certainly watch. While I wasn't the biggest fan of Dragon Ball GT, some of the character designs, especially Super Saiyan level 4, was always a really big fan of too. It's one of those things where I would personally, I know we've gotten into Ultra Instinct and all these other different variations, but there is always a part of me that wants to see Super Saiyan level 4 make its way into canon in some capacity or another, because I don't really consider GT canon. I don't think it is. But maybe I'm wrong. You guys certainly correct me. But they've got so many great moments, man. Absolutely so many great moments. Anytime the old man finds a pair of panties and he loses his shit and just blood comes out, squirting out his mouth out of pure excitement for getting, all aroused and stuff. I mean, Dragon Ball is a handful, man. Dragon Ball Z is a handful. Alexander, what's up, Alexander Rosario? Appreciate you coming through. With the reimagined Netflix Power Ranger universe, what do you think if the kid entertainment, like what we have now, since MMPR remains the same while the more adult movie series is moved on to its own section with a different name? This could allow the general public to have a different mindset on Power Rangers when they see it, instead of just basing off their judgment because it's Power Rangers. I feel like Power Rangers, as the name itself screams kid shows. No, I wouldn't change the name. You bought the content for the name recognition. The moment you change it, it doesn't have that recognition and just becomes something else. I do get the idea of when you say Power Rangers, people automatically associates that with kids or cringy or corny. This is the challenge that Hasbro has before it in regards to being able to reboot, reimagine, and revitalize it, as Warner Brothers Discovery says, in regards to making it fresher, and changing the narrative and the stigma of what Power Rangers is. I think the fact that Hasbro and Jonathan Entwistle recognize that, to where they're creating a brand new series that's a little bit more mature, creating an animated series also, creating a movie also, all those type of things I think are really aimed at the general public and trying to gain their faith back to say, hey, I know you think Power Rangers used to be one thing. What if I told you Power Rangers could be something else entirely? Let's go ahead and show you. And yet still at the same time, like you mentioned, the kids programming, I'm kind of under the impression that, with the exception of the Super Sentai footage, if it's not broke, don't fix it. So in a sense of, I think you can still get away with the kids programming and telling it in the same format that we have been getting, but maybe more original footage, and maybe even pushing the boundaries a little bit more to kind of change up the formula from time to time if you want to. But I do think that we can keep the kids programming to look probably vastly similar or close to at least what we're getting right now. Like if we kept getting Dino Fury level content as kids programming with more original footage, and seeing them taking their liberties to do things different and unique from time to time, I would be really happy with that. I would be really happy with that from a kids programming perspective, and you really allow Jonathan Entwistle to create something completely different. And so I do think that this is the struggle for Hasbro, right? So no, I wouldn't change the name, no. You also say, I recall old actors like Michael Copon from Time Force gave his thoughts when he was asked along with other Rangers at cons about the R-rated fan film, and said the name Power Rangers is clearly a kid's brand, and that people outside the fandom who are general audiences have a certain expectation and won't separate the brand as anything else but a TV show from the 90s. And I know, and I appreciate the link to the video reference. And listen, Michael Copon definitely has his own opinion, but I will also say this is why he's an actor and he's not in charge of Entertainment One and the direction in which Power Rangers is certainly going to go. I mean, don't get me wrong; he's not wrong in the sense that while Power Rangers is clearly a kids brand, the people outside the fandom who aren't general audiences have a certain expectation and won't separate the brand from anything else. You know what? I don't. I would also challenge the fact that it's really never been done before. I think like outside of the 2017 movie, the idea of challenging it to be more than what people know it as, I would say we haven't really seen that before. Um, so who's to say how people will certainly react to it if we have the name recognition of Power Rangers, but when you look at it visually, it looks more compelling and it looks different and it doesn't have that kids programming shine on it. It really depends on how you rebrand and what that fresh coat of paint really looks like. I mean, if you're trying to tell me when this interview happened, which I would assume maybe, let me see, video video for reference. Let me pull this up. This was 6 years ago. He wind up seeing this, right? So when Michael says this, this isn't even in current today's context. He's still looking very much at Power Rangers as to what Power Rangers is, or what certainly has been. And in that regards, absolutely, it's really hard for people to see Power Rangers anything different than what it was. But again, that's the job of Hasbro to rebrand and repaint so that when people do see the Power Ranger name, it looks vastly different and will hit people different than what it was before. That's the hurdle. That's the challenge that Hasbro has in front of them, and we'll see if they're successful. I do think that there is a place for Power Rangers to be significantly different, and we're in that time period now, and we'll see if it's successful or not, though. Let's see here. Roberto, what's up, Roberto? Appreciate you coming through. Have you seen or heard of the movie Swiss Army, starring a Swiss Army Man, starring Paul Dano and Daniel Radcliffe? I've heard of it. I have not seen it. I've seen trailers from it. It looks pretty odd. I'm not gonna lie. I can't remember who Daniel Radcliffe plays. I don't, was he like a dead body or was he like this Paul Dano's like imaginary friend, or like I can't remember. It just looked really odd to me. It definitely wasn't a movie that I found interesting enough to check out. But they are some incredible actors themselves. I loved Paul Dano as the Riddler. I've loved a lot of Paul Dano's work that he's done before. Heck, I've even heard rumors of Daniel Radcliffe as Wolverine in the future, which Daniel Radcliffe has certainly shut down those rumors before also. But anything's possible these days. But so no, I haven't seen the movie, but I definitely have heard of it. It is a very strange movie, you say, about Paul Dano as a guy who gets stranded on an island and wants to commit suicide, but then finds a dead corpse, gets washed up on the shore, played by Daniel Radcliffe. Okay, so that's what it was. And he uses Daniel as a living weapon object where Daniel's body can do anything like create fire with his fingers, shoot out bullets. I have not seen it, but I really want to. It has been considered as such an original story. Yeah, I mean, based off of what I've known about it, very unique and original in its own sense. It sounds trippy as can be, and I think that's where my hesitancy has come from in regards to checking it out. But if you do check it out, Roberto, go ahead and let me know your thoughts, man. I definitely would love to know. Francois got a couple questions. What if the DCEU followed the same slate or followed the way MCU does their films? Do you think DC would be neck and neck when it comes to movie quality, just as a fandom in general? No, I don't. The secret weapon is Kevin Feige. Um, I do think that's the route that they should have gone. I think the idea of them wanting to play catch up so quickly to give us an Avenger level film before really establishing your continuity and your universe um, really hindered them. And I think the quick reaction to a loud minority and changing course when you should have just let it play itself out really set them back. And one of the things that I've always would have liked to have seen them do is the the DC slate, the same way they did the MCU. Could you have done it differently? Maybe, but I felt like if you while I don't think anybody will ever duplicate the success of what the MCU has just done, I do think that they have at least laid the groundwork out for what could be a successful cinematic universe. Because if looking around, I don't see anybody else doing it as good as they are over there. That streaming service? No, no. I think MCU's on an island of success on its own. And I think sometimes people get too arrogant and believe their own hubris in the sense of not wanting to follow the path of success that other people have laid for them and think, hey, I'm going to do things our own way. And hey, more props to you. Absolutely. But I do think the idea of maybe a few more solo movies really would have went out, really would have helped out. Granted, I don't know if the MCU even knew if their stuff was going to be as successful, but they certainly took their time in building it out and gaining the trust of the general audience. And the DCEU should have done that also. And so for me, like had DC and MCU, even if DC EU and the MCU started out neck and neck at the same time, I think the secret weapon there would have certainly have been Kevin Feige to make them a lot more successful. But again, we'll see, man. With the reboot, do you go back to that, right? After the Flash and Blue Beetle, do you say we're done here? After the Flash, do you say, hey, Blue Beetle's going to be launching off our new DCEU slate of movies and our continuity that we have and build off solo movies right after that one? I don't know. But I do think had they followed at least the formula, they probably would have been a lot more further ahead and more successful than it was. Ionis, what DC character would you like to cross over with Marvel or even with Power Rangers? What DC character would you like to cross over with Marvel? DC character over with Marvel or with Power Rangers? I'll take Booster Gold and Blue Beetle for Power Rangers, believe it or not. Yeah, I will take that comedy duo with Power Rangers. I was just thinking Booster Gold just because of the fact of not only his humor, but his time traveling capabilities. No, no, I'm not going to go that route. Give me a second to think on that, Ionis. What was your second question? What did you think of the live action Ted films by Mark Wahlberg, Seth MacFarlane, and Mila Kunis? What other cartoon property by Seth MacFarlane you'd like to see turned into live action, even as for a streaming service? I'm really not too familiar what else Seth MacFarlane is doing outside of Family Guy. What else has? I know he's produced a bunch of shit though, but off the top of my head, I don't really follow Seth MacFarlane like that. Let me see. Animation. The Orville. Interesting. Okay. Where's his IMDb page? Let's go to his IMDb page and see what Seth has worked on that we might. American Dad. American Dad actually might be interesting, especially in today's climate. If you want to make like a spoof political comedy, American Dad actually, American Dad actually might be one of my choices. He's got the Orville there, the Cleveland Show, maybe even the Cleveland Show. Yeah, those would probably be my two. Give me the Cleveland Show, and give me American Dad. I would love to see those as adapted properties. DC characters as far as Power Rangers, I think I mentioned this once, maybe the Teen Titans. I think Justice League have been there before, but I would like to see the Teen Titans. Teens meeting a group of teens. If they haven't done it in comic book crossover form yet, give me Teen Titans and Power Rangers. J.K. Lawrence, what are some of your favorite Jonah Hill films? And who thought playing one of the funniest and sometimes douche of a character in Superbad would make him one of the best actors we have working today? Yeah, Superbad is definitely up there with some of my favorite Jonah Hill films. Let me see what else we got here. Jonah Hill, pull up his IMDb page too. He was really great in Wolf of Wall Street. You know, one film, a group of films I have not seen him in yet. I have not seen him in 21 Jump Street, believe it or not. Both sequels, I have not seen either of those, and I hear so many great things about at least maybe the first one, but I think I heard good things about both of them. So great movies that Jonah Hill was in. Superbad is on this list. He was brief in forgetting Sarah Marshall, but I did love him in that also. Let's see here. Moneyball. Moneyball was a good movie. I didn't really care for his character too much in that though. I still want to see him in 21 Jump Street. I forgot he was briefly in the Django Unchained. He was Baghead number 2. I forgot he had that dialogue back and forth, which is so retarded with the Ku Klux Klan. He was great in Wolf of Wall Street. I really enjoyed him in that too. He was a little bit of annoying in Don't Look Up also. But yeah, he's got some great films, man. I used to always love me some Jonah Hill. Wasn't he in this movie? This is the end. Is that what it is with his other boys? This is the end, right? Yeah, this is the end. He was good in that one also. Kevin Richardson. What's up, Kevin? Might just be me, but I did not realize that both Ben Affleck and Michael Keaton are both returning as Batman. Do you think for the Flash movie, if it does still get released, despite the controversy with Ezra Miller, do you think we'll see Ben Affleck's Batman exit and actually pass the baton to Michael Keaton? No, I don't. I'm kind of, I don't even know if they're going to be sharing screen time. Like, I'm kind of under the impression that maybe Ben Affleck's Batman has a role in the beginning aspect. So we have sort of a comparison for Ezra Miller's Flash of the Batman that he knows. His adventure takes place, and then we get thrusted into a different timeline, and that's where we get introduced to maybe Michael Keaton, so we can kind of get to see the differences here between these two, and see how Ezra reacts to having a Batman in this new timeline or world, but it being somebody else completely different. I don't know if we get the opportunity to see when things come back together in this new timeline if it's a case of Ben meets Michael and is like, hey, this is your baton now, right? I think it's a case of the timeline changes. People are unfortunately maybe erased from history and are then plugged in, and we've got ourselves a whole new history in this whole new world that we're introduced to. So I'm kind of not under the impression that they'll share screen time or passing of the baton. I think we'll just see one and then see the other in this movie. And by the end, Michael Keaton, as this new timeline forms, we'll come to find out that Michael Keaton has probably been our Batman all along, type of thing, is kind of how I think it'll play itself out. Jackson Peterson. What's up, Jackson Peterson? Some Spider-Man rumors. You know, the rumors and speculation of the deleted scene of No Way Home, where Andrew said to Tom Holland near the end of the movie, if you need us, you know where to find us, indicated that they could return for a future movie. I think maybe the fact that it was deleted and taken out maybe is a way for them to say, we don't want to lead the crowd on, because that line could easily open up the doors for, hey, it's a chance that they pop back in. But I also think maybe in the process of the editing room and trying to figure out what you want this movie to be, I exited No Way Home thinking to myself, you know what? This is a really good send off for all these characters. You know, if we never see Andrew or Toby again, talk about a great farewell for these characters.
They did their duty and what they were supposed to do. So that's the impression that I got watching it. And I do wonder if the producers and the people making the movie got that impression too. So they decided, let's maybe take out that last scene because we really want this to kind of go out on a good note. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I'm not under the expectation of them possibly returning for a future movie. Just me, but I think it was just simple line telling Tom that if he ever wants to see them again, he knows where to go. Not really hinting at another movie. It's possible, definitely possible. I personally believe that their return in No Way Home was already perfect because it gave closure to Toby and Andrew's film, considering none of them get real closure during both their franchises. I completely agree with you there too, Jackson. There are rumors that maybe Toby maybe pops up as Spider-Man again in the Doctor Strange movie because it's being directed by Sam Raimi. Maybe there was a way to pull Toby on set real quick for a brief scene. Maybe that's something we get. There's also rumors of maybe Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man returning after the positive signs that he wind up getting from people this time around, right? I love the fact that Andrew's like, where were you guys 4 or 5 years ago when I needed your support for a third movie? Nobody wanted to see me, but now you guys want me back, sort of mentality. So, yeah, I think it was proper closure. I don't think we need to see these guys again. I think they did them justice. If this is the last time that we've seen them, perfect way to go out. If there is anybody that could possibly come back, I will give the nod to Andrew Garfield, but we'll see. Joey Thompson. While I'm a big fan of the franchise, what the heck is up with Fast and the Furious series and the laws of physics? I understand that the makers of the film are aware of how absurd and over the top this series has become, but to the best of my knowledge, I can't find any discussion about the universe itself. Yeah, I mean the series itself, the movies definitely jumped the shark a while back. But I think it eventually just became to embrace what it is, understanding that it is a movie that's over the top, that's focusing, like it's just become such an odd amalgamation of different themes. I feel like car racing, spy espionage, you know what I mean? That it's action adventure game or action adventure movie. It's really a mashup of everything, and they've really embraced just the absurdity of it all. It could be one of the reasons why I fell off. Like, I like to see stunts, but I like to see practical stunts that can really happen in real life with physics and stuff. When I see a car jump off of a cliff and it flips in the air 4 times, gets caught on a hook that turns at 360 degrees, it releases automatically, does a couple of side spins and lands on the back of a moving train at 200 miles an hour, and then Toretto just drives off into the rest of the train off the like all that crazy shit that we see these days. No, it really does take me out of the movie. But there are some people that appreciate the idea that it knows the type of movie that it wants to be and dives into it. And maybe for some people that is really enjoyable. But for me, it did kind of lose me a little bit. But to each their own, however, it certainly works for you. So I get the complaints. I get the idea of feeling some type of way about them breaking the laws of physics. But listen, you won't have to deal with it much longer. I think we've got maybe one, maybe two more movies left of this franchise. But yeah, it definitely has morphed into something completely differently entirely. But it at least embraces it. It definitely recognizes it and isn't trying to sell us something that it's not. So I will give them credit where credit's due. Let's see here, Kurt. Real quick in regards to Marcelino, you're probably right about this. You're probably right about this in this regards for sure. I did mention the idea of it maybe being a loud minority in this sense. It probably was more of a loud majority, or at least in this case, I think probably 50-50. So I would probably agree with you, Marcelino, thinking about it a little bit more. What else we got? Kurt Marino. Kurt says, with their potentially being a Captain America 4 film in the works, do you think that there is a fourth film in the works unless it gets canceled? I mean, they did announce it at the end of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and I believe even Anthony Mackie has mentioned the idea that they plan on filming here relatively soon. I don't know when though, but he still has plans on a Captain America 4. Do you think some longtime fans will get upset that Marvel's already doing a new Captain America film starring Anthony Mackie? I feel like it's just too soon to have a new film since Avengers Endgame was only 3 years ago. Could this bring in pushback when it eventually gets released? Hope we get a heartwarming tribute to Chris Evans' time as Cap. I don't think we're going to get any pushback in regards to it. You say, it's just too soon to have a new film since Avengers Endgame was only 3 years ago. For most people, we would have had a sequel already. You know what I'm saying? Like, if had we had a Captain America 2 or 3, the sequel would have already been out within that 2-3 year time period. So I don't think it's too soon for a Captain America one, but I do think, at least when you say 3 years, I don't think that's a too soon of a period. But I do think in this case, since we are changing our Captain America out, you do want it to be a little bit further out. It's not like Captain America is dropping today, right? So like, I'm not expecting the Captain America movie to at least drop for like another 2 years. So by that time, it would have at least put 5 years in between, if not a little bit more, 5 to 6 years in between Avengers Endgame, let alone the last Captain America movie. But I do think the idea that we have had a show like Falcon and the Winter Soldier to get us as viewers mentally prepared for this transition that's happening has done wonders for the Anthony Mackie, Sam Wilson character. Honestly, I think his Falcon and the Winter Soldier series really upped his level, in regards to not only importance of the team, but showing his worth and why he's very much deserving of wearing the stars and stripes and carrying the shield. So, while I don't think so, because I do think that the MCU has properly handled this situation of establishing the farewell to Steve Rogers, the struggle of Sam embracing the idea of potentially being a new Captain America, and then getting to the point of embracing it and allowing us to understand what he stands for and is willing to fight for. And so at the end of Falcon and Winter Soldier, when you tell me, hey, we're getting a Captain America 4, I'm like, yes, this is exactly what I was waiting and hoping for. And it's very much deserving. So I don't think there's going to be any pushback. I think the MCU is very much following the course that they should, so that when the new Captain America movie does drop, people will be very, very happy to certainly see it. Jericho, last week you guys talked heavily about controversy regarding Ezra Miller and his future in the DCU as the film. Do you guys still think he may or may not return as the character even after the Flash movie if it still gets released? His real life action doesn't scream Barry Allen, who we all know is a role model who is on the right side of the law. Yeah, I just saw a video this week too of Ezra Miller back in the bars over in Hawaii, getting his groove on, doing some dancing and some solo dancing on the dance floor and stuff. So there's no slowing down for Ezra Miller. I just hope that he slows down when it comes to getting in trouble. Do I think I do think Ezra Miller's time as the Flash is done, though. I do. We do have new management coming in. They'll definitely have to make that decision. But I think we've seen the last of Ezra Miller as the Flash. I think his Flash movie will be the last time that we see him. And then I think you course correct. I just don't think I got to think that the new CEO Zaslav looks at him as a liability. You can't have somebody that's going to be attached to such a big name like the Flash and to big potential properties that could be your money, your piggy bank for the next few years, right? When you need these money makers of films to hit, you're going to need actors that are going to be extremely reliable for you to not get in trouble and to keep their hands dirty. And this is becoming very much a pattern for Ezra Miller, unfortunately, until he maybe really gets some help. So I do hope Ezra Miller gets some help. I think the Fantastic Beast, along with the Flash, is probably maybe the last time that you see him attached to really big tentpole movies, or at least for me, I think they will part ways from him after the Flash movie. But that's just me. That's just me. Adam Perea. If Stephen Amell were to return to the Arrowverse and he finds a new candidate to take his place as the Spectre, and he finds a new physical form from his memories intact, do you think that would make Crisis on Infinite Earth very pointless, since we did see Oliver die twice? So I will say this: while I have While I have been on the record and saying I enjoyed Crisis on Infinite Earths, I think based off of the weight of that crossover, how important it is to DC lore, comic book wise, the idea that that's a 12 issue miniseries and so much content inside of it. I give them more praise than negativity than most people do in regards to how they handled Crisis. I think, in regards to developing it for TV, I think they did as great as they possibly could have done with the capacity that they had, because Crisis is a massive story, and it's really difficult to tell. So they were very ambitious in regards to it. It may not have hit really well with everybody. There are aspects to it that I certainly wasn't the most fond of, but I enjoyed it for what it was. One of the aspects, though, of Crisis on Infinite Earths that I think kind of shoots itself in the foot and made me personally scratch my head was the fact that in the comic books, I think the idea of Crisis was to remove the thought and the idea of the multiverse. All these duplicates of characters that we have, and it's just too much, right? We got to clean out the closet a little bit, spring cleaning, cleaning out that refrigerator. And the process of Crisis on Infinite Earths was to remove those duplicates and those multiverses to just give us one Earth at the end of the day with one set of characters. That eventually changed because DC eventually decides to go back to the multiverse aspect, but it really was meant to clean up. Whereas when I watched the Crisis on Infinite Earth aspect of things, I don't think they clean up anything. Right? I feel like we're still in the same position that we were in before with the multiverse, but this time around, it's just that our 7 paradigms or whatever that they were called, um, it's just the fact that at the end of the day, they are not aware of a multiverse any longer. I think they kept their memories, if I'm not mistaken, but they're just not aware of the bigger multiverse that's still out there for them, because we're still getting introduced to characters like a Naomi that apparently takes place on a different Earth, right? Titans, which apparently takes place on a different Earth also. So I don't think it did them any favors in that sense. So I almost think the Crisis on Infinite Earths conclusion already kind of made it somewhat pointless. But I do think also the idea of him having there being a time period since Crisis, I think if it's executed well, I don't think it would come across as pointless. I do think that there is a world that we live in that they can make the Stephen Amell's return as Arrow effective, give him his body back with maybe all of his memories, along with a new physical person to take over the Spectre aspect of things. I think you can tell a compelling story. Doomsday. Which moment do you think was the most iconic? Avengers Assemble or Spider-Man swinging together from No Way Home? Iconic. They're both iconic as far as cinematic history. They both give me goosebumps. Um, I grinned like a little girl when I saw all 3 Spider-Men swinging together, landing on top of the Statue of Liberty together. It made the nerd in me so happy. But Avengers Assemble. I mean, I don't know how to express just the nerddom that overtook me. I mean, the emotions were so overwhelming. I'm surprised my clothes didn't just explode off my body. Like I'm pretty sure when he says Avengers Assemble and the whole audience cheers and screams and yells and cries, I feel like the vibration of the theater alone just like I was ready to enter a basketball game and my pants just ripped off after a couple of snaps. I mean, the emotions were just unreal, bro. And I think the fact too that it was such a monumental conclusion to cinematic history of what the MCU was able to do over 10 years. I mean, we have been asking for an Avengers Assemble moment since the first Avengers. We didn't get it. Even in the second Avengers, he got to say it in the second one. He got to say it in the second one. Didn't even happen in the second one. Infinity War, he got to say it in Infinity War. He got to say it. Nothing. And as a fan, it's like that's what Cap does. That's what Cap says. It's Avengers Assemble. Where's he gonna say it? The fact that they held it off for the perfect moment, and then just the pullback of everybody. I mean, damn. I No Way Home is a great moment. It's a great moment. I'm not taking anything away from it, but that Avengers Assemble moment was just, it was the catalyst. It was the catalyst of everything. The climax that we all been waiting for. Woo! I love it, man. I loved it. Let's see here what else you guys are saying in here. Appreciate it, Natilla. Thank you very much. Adam, you're killing it as a solo host. I appreciate it. Maybe years of experience on A plus more phenomenal has helped. I don't know. Let's see. Tony Robbins says, Adam, I agree. I think Crisis just revealed where all the other DC properties take place. Yeah, that's really all it did. It kind of just solidified the idea like, hey, I know all this stuff is separate, but trust me when I say it's all part of the multiverse. So it's technically all connected. Is very much how they introduced it to us when it came to beginning Crisis. Like, oh, that's so cool. So everything that we've seen past DC movies that have no business being connected, you mean that's a different Earth? Or even seen the Titans on HBO Max, like on the DC Universe streaming app? Oh, you mean that's technically a multiverse, but it's all connected under the storyline? That's pretty cool. Crisis at the end, all it really does, it starts off that way and it just says, hey, remember how you guys thought there was a multiverse? You're going to think that there's not one, but there's still one out there. And that's really all it did. Like, that's really all it did. It didn't cut off the fat of extra characters. It didn't kill off other Earths and make everything happen on Earth Prime, which is the direction I thought they were going. Nope. More multiverse. More multiverse. Nicole, what's up, Nicole? Appreciate you coming through. Do you think MCU films like Spider-Man and Guardians of the Galaxy are two excellent examples of how Hasbro and Jonathan Entwistle's rebooted universe should be like? They have a great balance in action, comedy, and dark moments. And do you think that if Power Rangers 2017 movie had similar design structure of that of Peter's Iron Spider suit, but more Power Rangers inspired, there would have been less of complaints, and even have the Rangers helmets actually look like Power Rangers, or even the style of suits like some fan films? Um, yeah, you say something. Obviously, Jonathan's suits would be completely original concept. So let me go this one at a time. So, do you think that MCU films like Spider-Man and Guardians of the Galaxy are two excellent examples of how Hasbro and Jonathan Entwistle reboot Power Ranger universe should be like, in a sense that they have a great balance in action, comedy, and dark moments? I would agree with you. Yes, I think for a movie like that, especially Power Rangers, you certainly want a really great balance. I think, Nicole, where people get caught up is some people want movies directly like these movies, you know? Whereas I think you should take the influences so much as the concepts and the direct ideas of, multiverse and all that other stuff. I mean, people want these big bombastic films right out of the gate, sort of thing. Who knows? Maybe it could work for Power Rangers if they want that property, but I think the focus of a great balance in action, comedy, and dark themes could certainly really work for Power Rangers. I will say this too, though. Movies like Spider-Man and Guardians of the Galaxy do have the advantage of being attached to Marvel, in the sense that we have trusted them to give us good content, right? So while these movies have great balance and stuff, I think the moviegoer already trusts them in what they're trying to present to us. So they will look significantly better at the box office. Whereas somebody like a Power Ranger movie, even if you did take the influences, definitely will be great for general movie audiences. People will definitely be much happier with it. But it's still the idea of getting people to the theaters. You know what I mean? And Power Rangers has struggled with being able to do that. I mean, maybe some of the design, like you mentioned, because it says, and do you think if the Power Rangers 17 movie suits had similar to design structure to Peter's Iron Spider suit, but more Power Rangers inspired, it would have had less complaints? Maybe, I don't know if you go full Iron Spider, but I didn't mind the costume so much, but I wasn't oblivious to the pushback and some people not being happy with it. So, do I think they probably could have improved on the suits? Absolutely. I do think they probably could have put a better foot forward, come up with something. But I appreciate the take. Sometimes you got to swing and take a shot at something, and sometimes it unfortunately misses. I'd rather them take a swing and it missed than not try something new at all. And so, they attempted. I didn't mind it. It didn't work for most. Like for me, I still appreciate the 95 suits even more than I do the 2017 films. But I do think they probably could have been designed a little bit better. And so for me, I think one of my aspects of anticipation is really going to come to seeing what Jonathan Entwistle creates for us. Adrian Perez, what's up, Adrian? He says, hello, everyone. Hope you're all doing well and happy Easter. Same to you, sir. He says, I have a couple quick questions. What instantly ruins a movie experience for you, like at a movie theater or a movie itself? Crying babies, people talking, people on their cell phone, and not even so much on like just the idea of your screen bright as fuck. And I'm sitting here trying to watch a movie, and in the peripheral, I got this bright ass light. I just can't stand people that are not considerate of other people trying to enjoy a movie going experience. So those type of things instantly ruin a movie experience for me, or at least maybe not ruin it completely, but will get me a little perturbed and try and refocus on the movie. Other than that, I don't really have too many complaints when I go to things that can ruin my movie experience. How do you know if a film is filming in front of a green screen or a real location? Example, driving fast cars and then a helicopter. Sometimes it's hard to tell. It just really depends on the production budget, I guess, and how they're pulling it off. Like on television, it seems a little bit easier to tell instead of green screen. Like I'll give you a perfect example where it's really difficult. You look at series like The Mandalorian, they've got such great visuals, special effects wise now, like their production studios, that they film in. They don't necessarily even need to be on location sometimes, because they have like this thing called the volume, which is like this huge room that's just surrounded by LED screens, not only around but on top too. And they can present and post up the landscape and the surroundings of where you want your characters to be, so that at the end of the day, what happens is when you place somebody in the middle of this volume in this room and you've got all these LED screens on, with them showcasing the surroundings that you're supposed to be in, you also get the light off of those screens to bounce off of your character. So it adds a little bit more element of natural lighting. So it feels like that character is in that location. It's so much to the point to where even though they plaster this digital screen of the background onto these LED screens, it's also connected to their camera. So when the camera is following the actor in this room, instead of the screen being stationary because it's like a picture or copy of their location, when the camera moves, so does the location. Like the AI and the intelligence of it changes. So as the character moves and the camera moves, the background moves with it also. So it becomes extremely difficult to be able to find out what's taking place outside and what's inside, especially when it comes to things like The Mandalorian. Like, for instance, The Mandalorian scene, if you ever go when he's on Tatooine and he goes to the garage, right? And he meets the mechanic and stuff, what you'll usually see will be on the set will be the sand, you know what I mean, will probably be on the set. You'll have your props and stuff, your ship, whatever the case may be, but the background will be all LED, and it'll have the picture of the mechanic shop back there. And as the characters move and the cameras move, so does the background. So it looks like the characters are moving along with the environment. It's pretty spectacular, man. So it's really hard these days. Like instance, the Batman, for instance, there are countless scenes where we see Ben Affleck, not Ben Affleck, but Robert Pattinson's Batman on top of a building, right? Like under construction, you'll see the terraces or the beams and stuff, right? And you see the wind blowing his cape. I'm thinking Homeboy's on top of a building being filmed. That's inside of a set. It's camera work, it's lighting, it's the visuals. I mean, the things that they're able to do with movie magic in regards to bringing things to life. A lot of those sequences of you thinking that Batman's on top of a building next to the bat signal overlooking a city. They ain't no damn city out there. That's all background set stuff, and it's pretty crazy the things that they can do these days. So it's hard, man. It's hard these days to figure out when you're watching a movie, if it's on location or not. Some things, like even in Moon Knight that I'm watching right now, there's a set where Arthur Harrow, played by Ethan Hawke, when he goes to Egypt or Cairo and they're walking amongst the sands and they've got all these extras as they're looking for a tomb, that feels more natural. Like I start looking for other things, shadows, the wind, um, the lighting. I mean, all the stuff can really easily be tricked by the eye when it comes to technologies these days. So it's definitely difficult, man. It's definitely difficult. A lot of this stuff, I don't know whether or not it's shot on location or in a set unless I actually see like a set photo from behind the scenes. Otherwise, half the time I probably don't even know these days. Gabriel, last minute question. You say, what do you think of Leslie Grace's costume as Batgirl? I've heard some others that it looks like it belongs in the CW. No, I actually think I mean, could it belong in the CW? Probably, but I do think that it probably warrants an even I think it's even better costume than what we've seen on some CW shows. Like, some of these CW shows costumes I think could be great when it comes to when it comes to movies. Batwoman's costume I think is incredible. I used to think Arrow's costume was incredible, honestly. I think Stargirl's costume looks pretty badass for her also. So when people want to say costumes look like CW, I don't find that as a complaint or like or like a pushback against it, because sometimes I really do love the way that visually they represent their characters on the CW. I think they've got some incredible costume designers, and I think this Leslie Grace costume is right up there. I think it looks fantastic, and I think people will will feel significantly different once they actually see it in live action. One of the things that I always say, especially when it comes to Power Rangers stuff, we tend to see a lot of things in photos first, HD quality image, sometimes leaks, and we tend to be really critical and hard on just a physical image. Whereas, these items are meant to be seen in action, in movement, in lighting, in their natural habitat. You know what I'm saying? So I think when we do see more of Batgirl in the costume, I think people will feel significantly different. I think sometimes we tend to be a little bit too harsh on things that we haven't fully seen everything about it yet. You say, I actually really like the suit from the pictures I've seen online. Looks comic inspired. It's absolutely comic inspired too, which is crazy because people always ask for comic inspired. And now that we've got one, you've got some people that want to go ahead and push back against it. But you could definitely find her costume that she's rocking in the comic books. I also do think that there's a little homage to the 1960s Batgirl costume in there, also really bringing out that purple and yellow colors too. So yeah, they're definitely doing their part in regards to paying homage and respect to where the costume itself comes from. And when you do that, I'm very much happy with it. Marcelino Vasquez, he's got a couple of questions for pop culture. Hey, Adam, I one time heard that someone plans on writing a comic book where the story takes place in a world that's ravaged by crime because the only superheroes are woke idiots who only do virtual signaling and screaming at white people instead of actual fighting crime. Then a handful of people get powers and start making headway only to be stopped by woke superheroes. Is this Fox? Is this a Fox News comic book? I'm just wondering, was that what they're creating now? If you're wondering if this would be a satire similar to The Boys, the answer is it would kind of be. It's just the person who plans on writing this comic has expressed repeatedly how much he or she does not like the woke culture and that this would be a retaliation. See, if it's based off of that alone, then I have no interest in reading it. I mean, if you're gonna do something with a purpose. This person can say I'm doing it as retaliation. or the purpose of it. It doesn't fly with me. If a comic like that ever gets made or ever gets adapted or TV, would you ever read it or watch it? Also, I'm not trying to offend you. I was just wondering what your thoughts are. Yeah, you never offend me, Marcelino, so don't worry about it. I never take the questions that you ask personal or anything like that. But if a comic like no, I think because I feel like it's coming from a place of hate, you know. Um, Granted, I feel everybody's certainly welcome to feel however they want to. If that person feels a certain type of way about woke culture and woke society and things like that, if he wants to write the complete opposite, that's certainly more than fine. But I feel like I guess it's just one of those things. I don't need something in retaliation, that's just anger fueling something else to put out there into the world for all the wrong reasons. So no, I'm just I'd rather not pick it up or purchase it or show support or give that type of energy to anything. Ever since you started reading the Star Wars novels, have you had newfound appreciation of book readers? Um, Absolutely. I mean, Star Wars isn't the only book that I've ever read. I mean, I feel like for me, it is definitely my go-to. I do love me some Star Wars novels, and while I don't necessarily branch out too much with my genres, I've definitely read my handful of Dan Brown books. Clearly, the J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter stuff, but I'm not. I haven't read like that unless it's really a Star Wars novel. But I do appreciate book readers. There are definitely a lot more books I would like to read, probably more historical biographies, I think. Probably more history things. I do find myself as I get older, I'm more appreciating history a little bit more. I do think that there is something really telling in the words of, if you don't know your history, you're doomed to kind of repeat it. And I unfortunately feel like that's where we're at in today's society. So I kind of wish maybe people read more books than what they do. But I would agree. I think me reading more, whether it be Star Wars or not, definitely does make me appreciate book readers a little bit more. Um, a lot of people saying that Corey Stoll would have been a better choice to play Lex Luthor than Jesse Eisenberg. Your thoughts? You know what's interesting about this question, Marcelino? I don't know if you know, but there's a part of me that thinks that that I cannot stand Corey Stoll. I just do not like him as a actor. There's just something about him. His face, the way that he performs, maybe it's the characters that he plays just seem weaselly and wormy and just I, I just never been a big fan of his. But I will say this: if I had to choose between Corey Stoll and Jesse Eisenberg, I probably would go Corey Stoll. I probably would go Corey Stoll. I didn't really care too much for Jesse Eisenberg as Lex. There was maybe one scene in all of BBS that I appreciated him for. Outside of that, I could not have cared less. So believe it or not, I probably would go with Corey Stoll here. I think he probably could have really brought a different side to Lex Luthor. I probably still would have felt some type of way about him, but I think maybe it probably would have been a more appropriate way for feeling about Lex Luthor than what Jesse Eisenberg made me feel about Lex. So yeah, good question. Aber Singh, what's up, Aber Singh? Last couple of questions here. When it comes to the new movie, I'm rooting for this. I like Leslie Grace and Brendan Fraser. While I don't know what the F is up with the Flash, Superman, and big DC stuff, at the same time, I'm all just for a solid, standalone, kick-ass DC movie with secondary characters on HBO Max. You're speaking to the choir, Aber Singh. I completely agree. Add some flavors to the universe. I'm very intrigued to see how they handle a new female Cape Crusader in the DCEU, and it can actually bring in new fans who love comic book and films in general. I definitely agree with you as well. I don't know what's up with the Flash and Superman and the bigger DCEU, but I have appreciated the route that DC has tried to change course on. Again, we've had a lot of different management teams. The turnover is ridiculous within like the past 5 years over at Warner Brothers. It feels as though we've had people that have come in, tried things that have failed. We've had people come in, try things that are probably still in the process. So we don't really know how it's all going to play itself out. But we can see that they've tried to make some course corrections and some changes according to the last DC fandom that we had in the panel, and Walter Hamada letting us know the direction that they're taking. and we're starting to see the fruits of their labor transpiring when it comes to things like Blue Beetle, Batgirl, these other future movies, right? Black Adam and stuff like that. So it is coming to fruition. Hopefully they're going to be successful, but I like the idea of taking these secondary characters and allowing them to tell their stories. And I think if we can do that, I think that's a really great jumping off point to maybe a bigger connective tissue universe now that we've got the CEO from Discovery and this merger between Discovery and Warner Brothers being official. Maybe they'll see some of the course correction and take some of their advice when making any changes or trying to overhaul the DC entertainment. So there's a part of me that really wants to see this work. I can see a world where Batgirl becomes the new female Cape Crusader. They've talked about the idea, and at least rumors and speculation was the idea that Batgirl and even Supergirl, played by Sasha Kaye, might end up being our new Batman and Superman for this universe. Could that easily be up in the air now? Absolutely, with new DC management. So I am hoping that these movies perform well, leave a lasting impression so that Zaslav can see the reaction that people are having and really come up with a unique game plan to either keep these characters where they're at and change things significantly differently, or use these new characters in these standalones as a really great way to branch off into a new DCEU and really start something fresh and new. We'll see, man, but it's definitely up in the air right now. But I'm with you. I think Leslie Grace is surrounded by some great performers, some great veterans. Everything that she continues to say gets me hyped about what we could potentially getting into here. And the only thing that I can ask for now is that this goes from HBO Max to the theaters to give Leslie Grace even more shine. But we'll see what happens at the end of the day. But I think other than that, guys, that will do it for all of our live viewer questions today. So thank you very much, guys, for everybody that certainly participated and definitely came through for us. I think for the most part, we've been keeping a pretty good eye on the live chat. So I think I got all the comments in there that I really wanted to focus on. So I think we're pretty good. If anything, we will be back next week for you guys. We've got a live episode of APlus Hero Report next Sunday, going live at noon Central Time. Certainly follow us then. We've got ourselves a couple of other individual reviews that are going to be dropping for you guys this week. I think we got one more week for Naomi. Naomi doesn't come back this week. I believe she comes back next week, the following week, with brand new episodes. But we definitely will keep you guys posted. We got Moon Knight headed your way, more Halo reviews. I know Indy's going to be working more on his Flash reviews to go ahead and get caught up. So we definitely have stuff headed your way. And any other big news articles that might drop this week, we'll definitely keep you guys informed. If you're not following us on social media, please go ahead and do so right here at APlus Opinions. Very active on Instagram, very active over on Twitter, and check us out on our main hub page, which is in fact our Facebook page. That's where we post all of our news throughout the week for you guys to be updated on, from trailers to memes to articles to whatever the case you could think of. We have it there, and we pull those articles to talk about here on APlus Hero Report. So definitely follow us on social media. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, hit that subscribe button, guys. We're definitely here trying to grow our community. Hit that bell notification as well, and certainly join us over on our Discord forum community. Link is in the description box below, guys. But other than that, that's going to do it for me here. We certainly will be back next week. But in the meantime, do me a favor, as always, guys. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and keep it A+. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.